What up, players? We are live. We got the boys are back in town. We got Austen Summers, Markus, Michael Sartain, and Scotty GLL. So this is going to be a great discussion. Even though we never really agreed on a topic, but we'll do some Q&A, and whatever happens, happens. Awesome. Glad you guys are here. So what do you think we should begin, Austen?
Put me on the spot.
Yeah, awesome. Right now, topic. Go.
I think a really interesting thing that I've thought about from this past. I just did an immersion program with 4 students, and I was thinking about how one of the main motivators for these guys is thinking about the past and thinking about, like I said one thing during this immersion that kind of blew their minds, and it was basically like, how much would you pay to have worked on your social skills, your charisma, going out, cold approach, meeting people? How much would you have paid to force yourself in the past for the past 3 years to have done that like 3-4 times a week? And they were like, dude, $500K, $400K, $300K. Like, they're like, just the fact that you say that, I'm like, fuck, I've wasted so much time. I need to take it seriously now. So I think that's a cool perspective to go into. And also another thing I thought about is how there's a lot of technical perspectives of game, and like at a high level, all that we like to talk about is like, oh, boom, the systems, the social circle, the Instagram ads, the fucking like, all this complex stuff. But the things that get people started aren't like, here's my CRM that I use to manage my leads. It's like, it's just what's the initial inspiration and what's the initial like pain point, or what's the initial like spark that gets you going. And for some people, it's just finding out the game exists. So
Yeah,
I don't know. That's the things that are going through my head right now.
Yeah. Let's unpack that. So I think that like obviously there's like a pain period for a lot of people. Like I was definitely in this category when it comes to learning game, because you have to push past your comfort zone. Like really, the guys who struggle with game are the guys who it makes them uncomfortable to go up and talk to a random girl. So like stretching your comfort zone is a massive makes you massively uncomfortable. And then I think a lot of people postpone that. They're like, oh, I'll do this when I make 6 figures. I'll do this when I'm in good shape. They just postpone it, and they want to postponing it for years, and then they're like 35 and they still haven't really started. So yeah, I think that's the thing.
You know what's interesting? A lot of times you'll see this in business. You're having great months in business, and you don't want to change anything because success is a terrible teacher. And then you go through the pain, like what Austin's saying. I think a lot of times we lose sight of how important that pain is. Like you don't want to forego it. That's what, like, again, that's what prostitution is. It's a way of foregoing the pain of rejection. That's what pornography is. It's a way of foregoing the pain. And you just realize, because there's nothing in the world that feels worse than the pain. But at the same time, right, it's like, I'm just realizing this, with some of my clients and some of my friends, is like how incredibly important you just have to get to a point where, the guy is a poor performer and you got to fire him, or the girl has just done something. She had to do something so fucking crazy before the guy finally breaks up with her. That kind of shit, like that level of pain, it's just such an incredible teacher. And it'd be better, right, if we were smart enough to learn those lessons when things were good. But we have to wait till, like in my case, my father was killed by a drunk driver. I got deployed to the Middle East. While I was in the Middle East, after my dad had just been killed by a drunk driver, my girl leaves me. She starts dating a Marine, like, while I'm there, and I'm watching the whole thing unfold on fucking MySpace. That was the pain that I needed in order to get motivated. And I look back at those times and I'm like, bro, what if that had never happened to me? Like, how different I would have been today. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really important. I think that, to me, the beginning for a lot of guys, you can see you'll talk to them and they haven't suffered enough. And because they haven't suffered enough, they aren't ready to learn any lessons.
Pretty much all the dating coaches that are good, and just most guys in general who slept with a lot of girls, they used to suck when they were younger, and that acted as a motivation for them as a few. Let me ask this: do any of you guys get this, or is this just a me thing? So, especially when I was like learning game, if I saw a hot girl and I bitched out, didn't approach her, I would feel like a lot of like pain. Like I would start beating myself up. But then if I did it, even if I got blown out, I would feel like a dopamine high that I just did it anyway. So initially, like going up to the girl, I would be like nervous. I'd be like, oh fuck, I don't want to do this. I want to do this. But as I was doing it, especially afterwards, I would feel like an increase in my state. I would feel a lot better that I did it. Versus if I skipped it, even though I avoided that initial discomfort, I would just beat myself up and feel like shit afterwards.
Yeah, no,
I agree. I think we're really bad at determining how we're going to feel after the fact. Like we could say the same thing about gym. How many times have you never wanted to go to the gym? And after you go, how do you feel? You feel amazing. You're really glad you did it. Like I can't even think of a time where I thought, I don't want to go to the gym. I went, and then I was like, I shouldn't have gone. Never. And it's the same with the pro. We're just really bad at predicting how we're going to feel afterwards. So yeah, it's important to keep in mind, like, even if it, as you said, is an awful fucking approach and you don't do that great, and the girl's like, all right, I need to go see my friends, you're still going to feel good for the fact that you got over that and you have that relief that the adrenaline hit that you get. So yeah, always just take the action. You'll feel better afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that concept of the first 5 don't matter. There's like the first 5 approaches don't matter. For some students, they just feel so bad. They're like, I don't think this is going to work or whatever, and they start judging themselves. But then if you just tell them to get the first 5 approaches out of the way, they feel like this relief. So yeah, even it applies to that.
I'll even tell them, if you go and talk to this girl and she doesn't reject you, I'm going to be mad at you. Go get rejected.
Yeah.
Let me see you get rejected. We're going to applaud if you get rejected. If this girl ends up sucking your dick right in front of us, we're going to be pissed at you, bro. Come on.
You're kind of touching on another point, which is that like this holds a lot of guys back, is they play too safe. They're playing not to lose, they're playing to win. So they're like, I don't want to get rejected. So they don't get rejected, but then the girl just either friend zones them or gets bored. And so, but they're like taking that short term, I guess, relief of not saying anything polarizing that could get you rejected. But at the same time, they're taking the long term, I guess, L. I think that's like really, really common, just especially if a guy's like, maybe he's successful with 6s, but then he goes talks to an 8. He almost never lands her, and he thinks it's because 8s are different than 6s fundamentally. But in reality, he just played it like super safe, and he wasn't polarizing, he wasn't charismatic, he wasn't funny because he was trying really, really hard not to fuck it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult. You don't want to, especially, let's just say I had one guy I was on the phone with for like over an hour. And he got all his leads, his social leads, from a salsa dancing class that he took. And I was like, hey, man, why don't you, post on social media? Maybe you can meet some other women. I know the only place you meet women is from your salsa dancing class. He goes, I don't want to do that because what if I ruin my reputation with the salsa dancing class? And it was just like, he played it so safe. So you know what I did is I asked him for the name of the class, and I showed him 25 other people in the class that were posting on TikTok like their salsa dancing stuff. And the dude was just like dumbfounded because I was putting him in a position where he had to take a chance. A lot of times if a guy's super tall, super rich, if he's super connected, maybe he only has this one way that he's ever been able to meet girls. And then you take that crutch away from him, then he's got a serious problem. So, I mean, I think that's kind of an example of what you're saying. These guys don't want to take a chance. They don't want to do this. And the other thing is, this is what I've also found is, when I have a client who comes from a very structured upbringing, a lot of times these are some of my Eastern European or Asian clients, because their parents tell them where you're going to go to school, who you're going to date, how you're going to dress. What happens is they give a fuck about so much about what their parents think that once they become an adult, they give a fuck about what everyone thinks. And now going out and getting rejected publicly actually means something to them. But someone who's hit rock bottom, you truly understand when you're at rock bottom, you're at survival mode. When you're in survival mode, you don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks. You're going to eat whatever you need to eat. You're going to do whatever you need to survive. And when you're in like an emotional survival mode, you stop caring about what other people think. And then rejection doesn't mean as much. But a lot of these guys, like you said, Alex, I don't think they've gone through enough pain sometimes to get past that point to be willing to say, I'll do anything to get better. I'll do anything to get rid of this 100 pounds of fat. I'll do anything to get my family out of debt. I'll do anything to protect my family. I'll do anything to go meet a girl. You have to get to a certain pain point in order to be able to get to that place.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I guess the amount of pain each person experiences can range. Like some people experience minimal pain to get good at girls, and some people experience massive pain, and most people are somewhere in the middle. I do totally agree with you about the Asian guys and Indian guys. They're way more likely to care about what people think because of the culture. What I find is actually interesting is like you take a black guy that grew up in like middle class or below middle class type of environment, and he's gonna just give a fuck way less. Like if you take a dude, white or black, who's like from the hood, like they're gonna have very little approach anxiety.
They give themselves permission. Yeah, because they've been taught to be disruptive their whole life. Just being a transgressive individual has always been rewarded for them. But if you come from an extremely homogenous society, like some Austrian or German society, or if you come from like Chinese society or Indian, being transgressive is like the worst thing in the world to be. And so because of that, they give so much of a fuck. I never have Latino or African-American clients that don't give themselves permission. Almost all of them do. Right. But you're right. It's exactly that kind of thing. And I think it is kind of a cultural thing that we learned as men. Some of us learn to conform and some of us learn to stop caring about what other people think.
Yeah, the guys in Miami who I think on average crush it the most isn't like some like fucking tall jacked white guy. It's some like average looking, maybe slightly above average looking Hispanic guy who's just really smooth. Those are the guys that like run up like, and you never even hear of them unless like you encounter them on the street. I just meet these guys sometimes in street interviews.
Thank you, dog. I'm right here. I'm sitting right here in front of you, bro. I'm right here.
Well, you're not Hispanic, though, are you?
Just talking about me. I am Colombian, bro.
Oh, are you? No, you're not.
Yeah.
I thought you were Italian.
Colombian. No, bro, I'm Colombian. Yeah.
No, I don't know how much to believe that, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Austen, you want to say something?
Wait, aren't you Italian? Are we? Okay.
Y'all pull up my 23andMe right now. I'm Colombian.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say there's some chat there's some comments in the chat. People are like talking about what on the initial approach is dictating attraction. And one of the biggest things you can change instantly is how loud you're speaking and how deep that you're speaking and how that changes a girl's perception of you. And there's this great video. I paid like $40 to download the National Geographic like original so I could put it in my course. But it's basically this part. It's on voice. And this guy, he's in a subway station. He makes like a square box out of tape, and he just tells people like, "Don't walk over my box." But he's saying like, "Hey, don't step in my box." And they're like, "There is no box. Fuck you, no." And like they just walk through the box constantly. And then he's like, and he switches it up afterwards. He goes, "Get out of my box." And then everyone's like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." They start walking around his taped box and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to." And they're just all complying just by speaking louder, more authoritative and deeper. And those are things that you can change very, very, very quickly. So a very low status behavior would be to speak very quietly. And in almost all primates, they're going to like basically loudness is an indicative of like posturing, a threat, something like the alpha guy, whatever. And yeah, if you just speak louder, it communicates higher status. And it's one of those really easy things on the open. A girl's determining that within the first few seconds of meeting you, how high status you are. And one of the easiest ways to determine that is like, are you mumbling? Are you like, hi? Are you mumbling? Are you getting words out? Are you making direct eye contact? And the energy and the vibe that she's getting off you is just that. It's how can you feel this guy's perceived status? How can you feel his just the overall combination of his, voice, eye contact, body language, how he's coming up? Like they can tell that very quickly on. And like no girl wants to fuck a beta guy. No girl wants to fuck some low value guy that's just mumbling and like unsure of himself and scared about other people paying attention to him. And if that's you can work on it over time. And like the voice thing, you can literally just work on it in like 3 minutes and basically, get a massive difference.
But also, won't the voice come out like kind of fake then? If you're doing like, I think that your voice tonality also partially comes from obviously your hormones, but also confidence. Like when you're really confident, you're going to speak louder, you're going to speak more assertively, you're going to speak a little deeper. Versus when you're really like not confident about something, that won't happen. How do you fake that? Like, I mean, I
don't think you fake it. You just get desensitized to the pressure of speaking louder over time. I even practiced this back in Toronto, like when I was first learning stuff. I would just go on the subway and practice talking to my friends, but louder and louder on the subway and seeing how people pay attention to it. And then, yeah, actually, when I saw that first clip, I'll try to find it and I'll send it in the group or the chat here. But it was just so mind blowing to me that literally there's just like tapes whirring in people's brains how they respond to things, and if you just speak louder, people respond better. So,
I've got. I think that's the biggest.
All right, go for it, Michael.
Yeah. So I've got two for you here. The first one is kind of a nerdy explanation because I've had this issue before. If you choose a lower register and you choose to speak from your diaphragm, if you were to look from a scientific standpoint, sound waves that are higher frequency meaning shorter wavelength, suffer more attenuation in louder areas, like a nightclub. Longer wavelengths do not suffer the same attenuation. You can also find this happens with like radio waves too. We use shortwave radio to communicate with, like, say, submarines, because there's less attenuation. When I talk deeper and I'm talking to a girl in a nightclub, she can hear me better than if I choose a higher register. So I deliberately choose a lower register and choose to speak more deliberately and slowly. Now, obviously, I can take this too far, but that's the thing that I would practice. But the other thing that I found that I've asked a bunch of guys to do, and it's worked so incredibly well, is to take 2 iPhones, go out with your buddy, and do man on the street videos. And you never even have to post them, but you get to go back and watch them. And it's really incredible watching how some of these guys will talk to me and be like, yeah, Michael, I went and talked to this girl and she didn't like me. I don't know what happened. And I watched the video and it's like, hey guys, where are you guys from? That's awesome. That's crazy. Can I see your dress? And I'm like, bro, why did you turn into a homosexual when you started talking to this girl? It's like, oh, I didn't even notice that. But because you do these man on the street videos, that's something that I don't even have the guys. They don't even have to post them. A lot of them do, and some of the guys have gone viral with them. But like, you go up to it, you get over your approach anxiety, but you also get to film yourself with the lights on you, people watching. And then you get to see how you react when an attractive woman is across from you. And are you willing to break rapport, maintain frame? If you guys ever watch Desirable Truth, you know, that big black dude who asks the questions, all those man on the street videos, watch how he never loses frame, no matter what the girl says. He's so unreactive to what the girl says, and he asks super interesting questions. So like, that's something that I would look to do. And so watching yourself on camera, I have found, is probably one of the best ways to fix your speaking voice and your tonality. And also, is there some flamboyant head movement or big eyes, that kind of thing? Those are things that you can work on by watching yourself on camera. So I recommend man on the street videos. I think those have worked out pretty well.
Yeah, back in the day, some of the RSD instructors, they thought that they were the shit at infield. They were like, dude, we're the best, and like, you know, meeting girls and stuff. And then they started getting cameras out there and filming themselves with like Sony camcorders, and they're like, holy fuck, dude, we're making so many mistakes. And then there's the fact that they had video and audio footage, they started getting better and better much faster than everyone else. And like, it is literally a gift. Every single person watching this has a phone. Like, every single person watching this has the ability to film and get audio of themselves. And that's the best tool for improving, especially if you can have a mentor look it over, because it's no longer just like, oh, I think it went well. It's like, no, there's objective proof. This is what you're doing. That's why I turned a girl off. This is what you're doing. That's why she responded well, whatever. You could have handled this objection better, etc. So yeah, you use the tools that you have. Like, it's kind of sad. Back in the day, it was kind of harder to learn this stuff. So you actually had to put in a little bit more work and you had more buy into it. But now it's like, information's out there. Everyone has the best tools in their pocket.
Yeah, but Austen,
like,
a lot of
no
bad information is out there too. 90% of information is bad. So while there is more information out there, it's really easy to go down the wrong path.
Yeah, I think there's more so than ever. Like we were talking about before, when it comes to like, okay, how do we speak loud? How are we confident? How do we go and approach? Like, the society and culture makes a big difference. I feel like it's a matter of that belief. Like, do I have a locus of control here? Do I feel like my behaviors are going to have an impact? Or am I hopeless and I need to blame it on something else? And I think more now than ever, there's an avenue to blame it on something else. Like, you can just say like, oh, look, I could speak louder. I could have better body language. I could, but I don't think it makes a difference. I think the only thing that matters is X, Y, Z, which usually looks. And for that reason, like, I'm just going to sit here and say it's that, and then I don't have to worry about anything else. So I think that's the problem now. Whereas before, when it came to taking action, it was kind of like, listen, I'm either going to sit at home and feel like shit, or I go out there and do something. Now you can sit at home and feel good because you just blame women or blame something else.
Yeah.
That Alex brought up a good question, or a good point though. Like, why is it that less accurate dating information is more mainstream? Like, there, you know, that guy with the I don't know.
There's a really easy
some
answer.
guy with like who wears a cowboy hat.
Fuck. Oh no. I thought you were talking about that Chris GQ Perry loser. I thought that's what you were talking about.
There's a really easy answer for this, because good dating advice involves hard work. It involves you putting yourself out there. It involves getting rejected, versus bad dating advice is a lot easier. It's just like, just sit around and focus on yourself, and the girls will come to you. Like, which one of those do you think is like
there's one more part to this. If you teach really good dating advice, you are putting your friend at an advantage and the woman sometimes at a disadvantage. So if I had a couple of women, there's a podcast right now called Kill All Women. And you guys remember the first season of Call Her Daddy. They had all these ways where women would deliberately manipulate and mislead men in order to get them to chase more. And for us as men, that would sound toxic. If I give you guys, if I go to Austen, I'm like, hey, Austen, here's an idea. You know, the next day after you go on a date with her, just don't call her back the next day and wait for her to call you and be like, oh, maybe that's a good strategy. Forget about the actual strategy. But when I explain the strategy to women, it's going to sound toxic. So that's why Chris Williamson can never say things like that. Does that make sense? Really good dating advice all often comes off as a disadvantage for women. So saying it publicly now, I'm not talking about the view specifically, but that kind of content creator now criticizes you. Who hurt you, bro? What's wrong with you, bro? Because you do stuff like that. Even when Markus comes on and he talks about really good information about escalation, put in the wrong person's ear, that comes off as toxic and manipulative. And that's the reason why good dating advice is often shunned.
Yeah, like the optimal dating for women, it puts men at a disadvantage, and then the optimal dating for men puts women at a disadvantage.
By the way, well, Austin, that's not theoretical. If you read evolutionary psychology textbooks, it talks about this specific. It's called the Red Queen, this paradox of Matt Ridley's book, The Red Queen. It talks about this paradox. As men want more sexual access, women will discern which man is lying. As women get better at determining which man lies, men get better at lying. And as men get better at lying, women get even better at determining which man lies. And it goes back and forth. It's like this evolutionary arms race throughout history that goes on. And as one gender starts to have more of an advantage, then the other gender has more of a disadvantage. But there's always some level of balance, no matter where you go to. But if you start giving men just fucking crushing advice, like you guys have seen that parallel live shit where the guy walks around and it looks like there's 50,000 people watching him on a live stream. That shit works, and it's incredibly toxic. But at the same time, like, who's really to blame here? Like, is it the guy to blame because he's got a video that looks like 50,000 people are watching him, or these shallow ass women who are cheating on their fucking boyfriends? Who's actually to blame here? You know what I'm saying?
So who lies more, men or women?
I don't know how much I agree with.
I'm so attracted to you, Austen. I'm so attracted to you right now.
I don't know how much I agree with the idea that really good dating advice. I see your points, but I don't know if I agree that really good dating.
Some of it.
Yeah, but I think, like, okay, the argument I would make. This is the argument I've made like many times before. Is that kind of advice is typically we're talking about like what's the term, Machiavellian type of strategies that they come back to bite you in the ass later.
I don't think it's Machiavellian, bro. Not giving a woman a ton of attention up front when women are like, I am the table. I want a man who brings me flowers on the first date. And your advice is, hey, bro, I probably wouldn't do that on the first date. That's not Machiavellian, bro. That's just standing up for yourself. You as
that's not what I had in mind.
Listen to that fucking cuck, Chris GQ Perry. He says they're talking about, I can't believe all these men think that they're the prize. You guys aren't the prize. You should understand that women are the prize. You guys aren't man enough to step up and take care of a single mother. This is a million likes a post. This fucking guy gets a million likes a post. When you give actual contrary evidence to what he's saying and actually show the data, then you get looked at it as who hurt you, bro? You're a misogynist. I disagree, Alex. I think if you give really solid dating advice to the general population, they like, why are you trying so hard, bro? Just be good looking.
Some of them
stand in the corner. Yeah. I think a lot of them. I think it's getting progressively worse.
If you get a chance to explain the really good dating advice to most women, I think they're completely okay with it. The problem is when you get clipped. The problem if it's just this one little idea, and then when we're like, hang on, or you just got some like fucking leftist fucking feminist women that are just going to hate any piece of advice, right? But I think for the most part, if you just get the chance to explain why you're doing this and how it works and what your goal is, that's what matters. And then obviously you've got the guys that are just fucking dirtbags and are like, oh yeah, if a girl gives you this objection, just tell her girlfriend and just go cheat on her, and it's totally fine. Women like to be cheated on. Like, obviously that's rubbish, but yeah, I think like you just need the chance to fucking explain to women what we're actually teaching men. And from my experience, when they've actually heard it and gone through it, and you see this on Alex's show, right? He's got a bunch of girls that come on here for speed dating. Is a lot of them support it. Like they agree with it, and I think it's good, and it's good to help men to learn to be more socially calibrated. So
yeah, if you watch my initial debate with Ashley, it's a prime example of that, because Ashley, most of you guys know Ashley's my friend, but initially we met on TikTok, and she wanted to debate me because she thought I was like toxic and I gave bad toxic advice. And then when I like took the time to explain to her, but the person has to be willing to at least somewhat listen. But when I explained to her, she's like, oh, this is like really good stuff. Like, actually, if men learn this stuff, that would actually make it better for women. Because, we don't like, when guys make cringy mistakes. We don't like that either. So, but the person has to be willing to at least somewhat listen. Yeah. If they're just like bad, like you can't really like reach them.
Scotty, what do you think on this, man? Sorry.
I mean, I think there's a trade-off a little bit from back in the day. I think 2008, I took my first boot camp. It was like, we didn't have all the phones and stuff like that. We weren't filming guys and breaking down all their sets, but I don't know. It's a little bit like they could be like over analysis. What is that word? Analysis by paralysis. If there's too much shit out there, there's just oversat, tons and tons of stuff. I feel like there was a lot less obstacles, and you would just have to, you were only faced with that one challenge. Either you're going to cold approach, or you don't have really an option of anything else. So in that way, it was very to the point. But as far as women go, I think, I think what they find really cringe is like all the canned lines, which I feel like a lot of the dating advice is getting away from. But when they go over like, Brad P would go over the horse girl, all these canned lines back to back transitioning. It was like, I think they get bothered by the made up canned lines and shit like that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but that's not even something that guys who are good at game teach. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be like, who actually really gets laid is pushing like just like 80-90% canned lines. I think like we all like, I think we largely agree that there's some, it's good to have a few like kind of canned lines of dealing with concerns, or maybe like a story or two, but I think all of us rely mostly on just like natural game, like just saying, like having the right internal fundamentals, and then just going off that, like kind of freestyling it.
Wasn't that Mystery's whole thing? I don't know too much about Mystery, but wasn't Mystery all about like line after line?
Yeah, but Mystery was like a very pioneer for his day, but he no longer is. I mean, he's like kind of faded. I mean, look, I like Mystery, but he's not like at the forefront of
what Eric was doing back then was probably the best thing you could have done back then, with knowing what they knew back then.
Yeah,
that makes any sense.
I agree with that. Yeah,
but like for the technology that was available, I think it was good. Like my buddy Justin Waller, he has this saying. He goes, "Don't be harsh on your father. Your dad did not have the ability to teach you about women anywhere near to what you know about women now." And it's the same kind of thing. Like Eric had no one before him to kind of like really help him. So whatever he came up with, I applaud him for it.
No, for sure. It's like shitting on George Washington for having a slave. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
And a lot of the dating coaches right after kind of piggybacked off of his stuff and just were using that like a lot of his shit, a lot of the canned openers, because that's what the students want. They're always demanding what's the next line. What was it you said to that girl that got the thing? So in a way, it was a good marketing ploy,
Yeah, but you got to break them out of it. Go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, I'm probably the most pro canned line person here, I'd say. I think there is actually a lot of benefit to it. I think the problem becomes when students just rely on it. They don't use it to understand the principles, and it just all sounds robotic. They don't use it as a way to actually captivate how you should say something. Because I think the benefit of a canned line, if we just take the open, for example, now it allows a student, okay, you only got so much processing power. This is stressful. Like, what the fuck's going on? Just this is the thing you're going to say. You don't have to worry about the content. Now let's focus on how does the girl respond? How are you going to say it with speaking louder? How are you going to do all this? And then I think over time, it teaches you the principles. And really at the end game should be all of this is a canned structure, we could say. It's canned responses, we could say. But the actual content that comes out of your mouth is just going to like fit those principles, and you're just going to be, made up on the spot a little bit. But I feel like a great, go on.
No, I'm saying canned line, it still beats them not approaching. And a lot of times, like what Marcus is saying, sometimes you have a guy who just can't be himself. He doesn't feel the permission, or he feels imposter syndrome going up to a woman that's prettier than anyone he's ever talked to. So if you give him a canned line, that's definitely better than nothing. I absolutely agree.
Marcus,
like some of my favorite, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think you're almost like doing yourself a disservice. Like you guys have, I'm pretty familiar with your guys' style of game, which by the way, I think is really good. But you guys rely on like more of like general like routines, like, oh, I'm going to give her the sex coach routine, but you guys don't copy lines verbatim. I've never seen you guys just like, okay, here's the script I'm going to read off. So I think you guys have a very, very strong general direction. Okay, I'm going to do the sex coach routine. If she gives me this objection, I'm going to go with this. But it's more of like a general, like, I guess, like plan rather than like a concrete set of lines.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I guess, it's probably like can structure or can plan with maybe some like lines as, backup for the guys like training wheels. But yeah, you're right. It's not here like mystery style where it's like word for word, this is the thing, then this is the thing. It's, obviously. But yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, no worries.
I was going to say that's same thing goes for text game too. Like you give them the structure and then you give them some fun lines to play around with, and some like, here's the opens, here's some transition lines, here's some re-engagement lines. here's some closing lines, and then eventually once you do practice it enough, you get enough, you understand the structure and how it works.
Yeah, the guys who do the best with PWF are the guys who apply the general advice, but they don't rely too much on they use maybe some of the canned lines initially, but then they develop their own style applying the PWF concepts. And the guys who just are too reliant, like, okay, tell me what to say next, That's why, like, in our mastermind group, like, sometimes I'll be like, what do you think you should say next? Like, give me your suggestion before I give you my suggestion. Like, forcing people to think for themselves, I think, is just something a coach should do if they get people like that.
Honestly, some of the funnest infield I have is just the infield where I'm playing a character. Like, I'm going to do a Christian Picks Up Girls soon, and I'm going to be like, is that seat saved? Because I am, using lines like this. You're hotter than hell. And it's so fun, dude.
Yeah, but it only works for you because you have the underlying fundamentals down. Like, you're confident, you're assertive, you're socially astute. You can modify the character based on the vibe you're getting from the girl, right?
Yeah. By the way, I pulled up that guy, Chris GQ Perry. I think that guy's doing a brilliant strategy, which is like he's attracting a lot of women to look at him because he's just saying what they want to hear. Pretty much. I'm just reading the captions.
And bro, he's in my homegirl's DMs. That dude is the biggest gaslighter I've ever seen in my fucking life, bro.
Bro, this guy looks like
one of his videos.
Oh my God, it's so fucking crazy. Every time I talk to my team, I'm like, whenever you guys don't feel motivated, just watch Chris GQ Perry and just remember who the fucking enemy is. It's so great, bro.
I've never actually heard of him. Austin,
yeah, me neither. Can we see some of his videos? Do you want to play one?
No, let's find a good one where he actually, like, the one where it's like, weak men want to date multiple women at the same time. You ladies should not tolerate these weak men. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude?
His name is Chris GQ, you said?
Yeah. So
Chris
here,
GQ Perry. Bro,
just pick one of them.
every hot girl follows this fucking clown, dude. It is crazy, some of the shit he posts. And his mid-ass girlfriend that he just fucking proposed to, it was crazy. He's like, oh yeah, they're the one right there with the diamond ring. Good, that one. 151,000 likes. One man's I'm not ready is another man's I knew you the second I met her. Dude, the videos he makes about the videos he make about dating fucking single mothers are incredible.
Let's see him.
What does he say?
Which one should I click on?
Bro, I don't even know, bro.
This is the first time.
Oh my God, the flowers on the door, bro. Oh my God. Like, every day, if you want to get angry before you go to the gym, please just watch some Chris GQ Perry or watch some Will Hitchens. He's another, like, huge. I call them women panderers. They're so terrific. Like you'll just watch this.
So, are you against getting a girl flowers?
No, I get girls flowers all the time when they deserve it. I don't think women deserve flowers because they're women. I think women deserve the flowers because they're good to me.
His perspective is.
Yeah,
his perspective is they are the prize, and you men are stupid for thinking you could ever be the prize.
Do you think it's like a character though he's doing? Like, he's just doing this because that's what gets him views, or you think he actually?
So no, actually, I think it's operant conditioning. I think it's operant conditioning. He did a video like this a long time ago, and because he got so much approval from so many women who previously did not approve of him, he was then trained by the algorithm to continue to make this content. And the algorithm loved the fact that what he was doing was so politically progressive. It continually gave him more and more views until he started getting a million likes on some of his posts. That's what happened.
Austin, just pick like
I've never seen.
Well, yeah, this is, I guess, when it started right here. Okay, let's go full. Women cannot be your piece if you aren't hers.
I think we don't have
I can't hear this.
No audio.
Dude, the voice. I expected him to be like, yo, this is how you fucking get bitches. But
Michael, what was the one you said to play earlier?
This is the before.
So sorry. The problem is I search them on YouTube. It's easier to find like the different topics. I don't usually go on here. We don't have to spend a lot of time, guys. Just go through these, watch 5 or 10 of them, and then just like right before you go to the gym, and just remember who the enemy is. Like remember who
like a really
fucking empowers the madness. I'll try to find one for you. Give me 1 second. Hold on.
The enemy.
But the one about the baby's mamas is just like, bro, it'll make you so angry. Bitch, you're not better than me because you're dating a baby's mama. If you found a girl who's single mother who's good to you,
okay, I think I found it.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, I think this is the one you were talking about. It's crazy how you respect women who had your baby, right? This or
no, it's not that one, but that's
baby dads listen up. Or the woman who had your by, probably this one actually. The woman who had your by the time woman says
No,
goodbye.
no, it's about dating the single mothers, not the men who have the
Okay, let me
babies.
see.
Yes, yeah. But when I Christy Perry single mothers.
Okay.
I wanted to respond to this guy says about the voice thing. Some women get freaked out if you aren't calibrated and you're talking loud in a coffee shop.
I don't think anyone gets
all-
freaked out.
Oh, this I think
all of
this
game has to go through the lens and the filter of, is this socially
Understand
calibrated
this,
and
a
is
good
this
woman
contextually relevant?
Here, I found one.
walk away without first
Look
trying
how
to see
late
the
times
relationship.
called that we're wasting.
She'll
We're
only
watching
leave-
two different things at the same time, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, let's just
Destiny just popped up.
Hey, you might need to close that other window on the right.
Yeah.
Okay,
There you go.
when she knows she's done everything she can. She'll keep trying, giving her best, hoping you'll change. And you might feel like she argues a lot, but that's because she's fighting for what she loves, hoping things will improve. But when she stops fighting, that's when you've truly lost her, because the love she had for you is gone, and she can't give you what's no longer there. Understand this: a good woman won't.
This guy
walk
speaks
away
like a
with-
special needs kid. I'm
Ways you
sorry.
can stop on a water race.
Bro, I mean,
I can't say
promise you,
anything good.
just like that's not the best one. Like, and by the way, some of them are just blah, whatever. But there's a few of them where basically, if you date multiple women, you're not bad. You're weak and evil. And this is a man with a penis saying this. That is the part that's
even the take we watched is pretty bad. Like, I mean, he's basically saying that it's a good thing when a woman fights with you or gives you shit, which again probably is pretty counterintuitive.
no, Alex. The only reason a woman fights with you is because it's your
Yeah,
fault.
right.
And
Yeah, there's
like,
no other reason.
The data that like heterosexual couples in the United States get divorced at a rate of 56%, but gay couples get divorced at a rate of 28%, and lesbian couples get divorced at a rate of 78%.
Yeah,
But
I think that's because
We're the
women
problem.
have higher negative emotions.
Well, to
Yeah,
be
no,
fair,
narcissism.
I looked this up before. I think it's because women jump into relationships really quickly. Women on women, so men tend to wait a long time. So you get like I don't know what you'd call it, maybe a selection bias, but like men usually wait, and so the relationship's already been tested, whereas women will get married in like 2 months.
To be fair, sometimes it is the man that's the problem. Sometimes it is the woman. Quite often, it's both. I find that in most relationships.
I totally agree. So talk to women and then find women who say it's both, because you won't find any. They're going to tell you it's all men. In fact, if you read the surveys from women, they're never like, oh, I was partially me because I was neurotic. I rarely see women file for divorce and say it was because I was neurotic. They never say that. What they'll say is, he didn't make as much money anymore, and we grew apart and all this other stuff, and he wasn't doing his chores, and they'll say that. They will never say it's because I was neurotic.
Well, I think the vast
So
majority of
men,
women-
I rarely hear men being like, "Oh yeah, that last relationship I was in, Marcus. Yeah, that was all
No,
my
I have.
fault." And I
No, I say
but
it
I've
all the
also
time.
heard
I
women
hear
say
men
that,
say,
like,
I cheated, and I understand what she left. I hear men say this all the time. They know why a woman left.
all the time.
Not all the time, but frequently.
Yeah, I
feel
like.
like
I feel
don't
like
know. I agree with Marcus on this. I find that like a lot of the hardcore red pill guys, like it's always the girl's fault. They never acknowledge like.
Well, I'm not talking about. We're obviously not talking about hardcore red pill guys. I'm talking about just like in general.
No, just even
Whenever
like
I talk to
normal,
women.
like even some like friends I have who are not in this community at all. Like they'll reflect on a relationship, be like, yeah, man, she was this, and this. I was like, okay, but you did this. Like, are you forgetting about the?
I totally.
Yeah. I think
those people, it's hard to.
most
I think like in a relationship, there's like so many variables, so many things that happen. Like you can look at even your friend's relationship, and at the end, you could be like, "Man, this guy cheated, and he was an absolute dick." But then you look at the start of a relationship, and the girl was toxic, or it might be the other way around. Like I think it's so hard to look at a relationship and be like, "It was this person's fault." I agree. It's probably like a mix there. Look, sometimes you will have just an asshole guy or an asshole girl, but yeah, I think it's really hard to look at a divorce and say whose fault it is unless you literally with a fine-tooth comb like go back and replay like from the start of the relationship what happened. I think it's just like really difficult.
I mean,
Sort of like a 60-40 split. Women 50-50. I have no idea.
I think like though, but it just comes down to self-awareness, and most people, men and women, don't have self-awareness. But if you really look at like relationships ending, the vast majority of it comes down to either a lack of self-awareness, poor communication, complete lack of screening, so you just picked the wrong girl to begin with and it was always doomed, or poor sex. Like I think the vast majority of relationships breaking out boil down to a combination or one of these things.
Yeah, I just had a client who he got out of a 12-year marriage with a girl that he literally just said, yeah, I just didn't know anything about screening and I just got into a relationship with the wrong woman and I'm 12 years later, and now I'm back at ground zero basically, and I have no idea how game works, how dating works.
Jesus
By
Christ,
the way,
12
I'm
years?
reading-
Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm reading the comments here. I don't have a problem if a guy wants to date a single mother. That is not my issue. My issue was Chris GQ Perry said that I'm weak because I don't want to. That's what I'm talking about. That you're a better man because you do want to, and I'm like, that's what I had an issue with.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like,
that's just
that's what that. If you find, I know what Rich Cooper says and all these other people. I understand, and I nothing but respect for those guys. But I'm going to be honest with you. Like, if you find a good woman, she's good to you, and maybe you have a son and she has a son, and you guys get together like the fucking Brady Bunch, and she makes you happy. I'm not going to fucking criticize that. That sounds beautiful. If you found a good woman, you found a good woman. But my point is, you're not better than me because you started dating a single mother. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. I think like
Crazy.
99% of people would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I think there's practical, tangible disadvantages to being in a serious relationship with a single mom. Her priority will always be the kid, and rightfully so. And you will always be second place, right? That's just like that's like something you have to admit. Like, if she's really good to you, and there's other facts that balance it out. But that's just a factor that matters, that you will always be second in level of importance. Like, right, my girlfriend does not have any kids, so I am first in her level of importance, right? But then if she had a kid, obviously, I would not be first.
I mean, you're pretty, what is it, 60% of the population now? I mean, if you were to say, I'm not going to take a single mom seriously, you're like, that's ridiculous. You're really, it's a small pool, man. That's a very small pool.
Most women are not single moms.
I would say 50, 60%.
No, it's not 56. It's in the, I think in the mid 30s, high low 40s. I think.
Oh, okay.
I can find out right now. Hold on, give me a second.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
find out
find
exactly what those numbers are.
Scotty,
by the way,
That was one
what's
thing that
the-
sucked about Colombia. Almost every girl is a single mom at like
Yeah,
age 20.
Because girls in Colombia have sex at like 14.
No, that's what happens when there's no middle
Get it,
class.
man.
Yeah. Oh, they get it. Like I said, they get it. There's some crazy stats. You are 40 times more likely to be a victim of child abuse if there is one non-biological parent in the home. You are 100 times more likely to be killed by a parent if there is one non-biological parent in the home. There's some like crazy statistics I was reading in the evolutionary psychology textbook and stuff like that.
You're also more likely to be good with women. There's actually a really interesting study that did a breakdown of where
Interesting.
yeah, like the guys who have zero or just one parent are like 4x less likely to be an incel or something like that. It's like crazy.
You are more likely women whose father leaves them early on, like before she turns 18, are more likely to be shorter because they are more likely to go through puberty sooner. It's a certain genetic. It's not all women, but there's certain women who have this one genetic proclivity to do this, and they are more likely to have sex earlier in life. Also, there's another study that shows that women who listen to hip hop have more sex.
Do you guys ever see the Abin Preach video where the dude goes to the strip club with his girlfriend, and then she's too young to get in, but they say you can dance, and she dances, and then the guy just like flips out, and then he takes her money and rips it up, and then the police come and ultimately arrest the guy and like fucking beat the shit out of him. Did anyone see that video?
No, that sounds hilarious. That sounds like somebody did that just for the views.
What the fuck,
It's
man?
tragic and hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the step parent. Like, and this is child homicide. Step parent versus natural parent.
Yeah, there's some stats on here in the evolutionary psychology textbook.
Yeah,
There's
everyone
another
thinks-
one that's really what?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, everyone when they think, or no, I shouldn't say everyone, but I think it's a common misconception when people think about protecting children from like rape or horrible things. They're always thinking about strangers, right? It's always like, oh, careful when you get off the bus, like someone jumping out of the bush. But yeah, as you said, like majority of the time, it's just gonna be someone they know that's a non-family member.
Oh, there we go. According to recent statistics, single mother make up a significant portion of households in the United States. There's approximately 10.9 million single mother-headed households in the United States in 2022. They represent about 25% of all U.S. families being headed by a single parent. Of all single-parent households, 80% are single mothers. The other 20% are single fathers. In 2022, 39.8% of all births in the U.S. were to unmarried women. Among millennial mothers, the percentage was even higher, with 64% having children outside of marriage. Now, you can have children outside of marriage and still be a two-parent household. So that's kind of it's kind of deceiving there. 52% of single mothers have never been married, 28% are divorced, 15% are separated, and 4.3% are widowed. There's a lot of great stuff. By the way, guys, highly recommend perplexity.ai over like ChatGPT or Claude. It has Claude, Sonnet, and ChatGPT built into it, and it scrapes the entire internet in real time. It's phenomenal
I'm going to share with you guys a really crazy study that kind of blew my mind. All right, let me go to.
So there's enough single mothers for all of us, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, perfect.
Take a look at this. So this is basically no sex in the last year, and they break it down by age. So look at like 18 to 29, right? So starting around, we can say 2008, the amount of people who had no sex in the last year went up. And then look what happened like right after the pandemic. It just massively dropped like this, like huge fucking drop. But then if you look at it for...
So what happened with the 59-year-olds? Were they just starting to have orgies? They're like, we're going to die anyway?
No sex. No sex. Austin, that's no sex.
Yeah. So I guess they were paranoid about it. This is also really interesting. This breaks it down by gender. Look how it flipped during the pandemic. Women started having a lot less sex, and men started having more sex, and then it kind of met in the middle in 2022.
Yeah,
it was also pretty fascinating.
So this was interesting because this is something I saw personally from we used to have these ragers here in Vegas during the pandemic, and right when things started to open up again in a little bit, like 2021, I saw the same thing. Like women always, whenever there was a party, girls would always say yes. And I think coming out of the pandemic, that's why we saw more people going without sex. I do, but I also think there was a trend from the beginning of dating apps on the iPhone going up until 2018, up into 2021. 2021 was the peak. So during the pandemic, we saw the number of sexless men in the United States go up and up till it was 26% at one point. And then about a third of men between the ages of 18 and 24 had not had any sex. So, I mean, we did see those numbers go up pretty significantly, 30%. So it was 18%, not even 15, 20 years ago. So we've seen a 50% increase in the amount of sexless men since the advent of dating apps, social media, etc.
Yeah, I know what study you're talking about. One interesting thing about that study that's not talked about often is that when you break it down by age, it starts to paint a little bit of different pictures. So 18 to 20, we're talking about, I think in 2020 and 2018, men under 30. For 18 to 20, it was like 50% of them have not had sex in the last year. But then when you go to like 25 and up, like it's like 2%. So this really seems to be.
I thought it was 28, 29, 30. It was 2%. Because I was watching, it was Alex Dayside who was coming up with this stuff.
No, I believe 25 and up, it was 2%.
Yeah, so 25 and up. That's what I just said. You said 20 to 25. I was saying 25 to 30. Yeah, from 25 to 30, you're right, correct. So the way it works is we had about a third of men, a little bit like 31% of men have no sex between under the age of 30, or it was like 26% of men. But as you got closer and closer to 30, it got to 4%, 3%, 2%. Yes, because it's pretty unlikely, even for guys who are very poor with women, to have no sex by the time you're 30. We are in a liberal democracy, so most of the time you are going to see it. All of us are in some, even Australia or Canada, they're all liberal democracies. You are going to see men generally are going to have some sex before they turn 30, even if they're terrible with women.
Yeah, but the author of the study, what his conclusion is, which I think is also interesting, is that he says that he doesn't think it's people having less sex. He thinks it's people having sex later on in life. And the point he makes, which I think is a really good point, is that like 30, 40 years ago, people got married younger. So when you get married, you have sex, right? So if most people are getting married 18, 19, then most people are having sex at 18, 19. But now the age of marriage got pushed back, and some people are not getting married. So his I guess hypothesis, at least that's like a big part of the reason, is that people just are going to more school. People are living with their parents more, and people getting married later on in life, and that's what's really pushing the age.
Yeah, makes sense.
Should we do some Q&A?
Sure.
Yeah, one guy was asking how you screen for girls, but the first thing I would say is you should first write out your girlfriend criteria, the things that you generally are looking for, and that just makes you more aware of them when you see them, and you can recognize them. And also, I like this. I know this is a red pill quote, but I like it. It's women don't come pre-assembled. Like, you need to essentially not train them, but you have to like enforce the boundaries within the relationship that you want. You have to
maybe lead them.
Lead them.
They're like puppies. Remember? We spoke about this last week, Austen.
And then once you find out what you want and you know what you don't want, then you can make a list of, you know, the things that signal those qualities that you don't want. So, for example, with me, I don't want a super high narcissism girl who's just like photos, you know, she's like some content creator or whatever. So I have a lot of things that I use to screen for that. I use scientific tests. So I use like the personality test. I use a dark triad test. And then also beyond that, like if I'm going to pursue a relationship with a girl, I just want to know right off the bat, like who this person is she who she's saying she is? And I don't want to figure out, like I've had some of my clients actually go through this like internet detective stuff that I've sent. And they're like, they find out that their girlfriend had been working as like an escort for like years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just make sure I get all this stuff right off the bat. And then I have like a list of red flags that are kind of like softer indicators. So you can see like,
What are those?
like, for example, like whorishness, like there's like 50 signals of that, you know, photos in Dubai, photos in Miami, never showing the people she's with on a trip, goes out too often, signs of alcoholism, drug use, tattoos, bad relationship with her father, pictures in luxury hotel rooms, but no posts about entrepreneurship, you know, stuff like this. Then mental health issues, softer ones for the dark triad traits. So narcissism, psychopathy, Machiavellianism, lifestyle habits and health, honesty and integrity, aesthetics, communication, just behavior,
I think one of those
current and past relationships.
I think it gets harder once the
capabilities.
girl gets older too.
Yeah.
It probably gets a little bit harder.
I think one.
Yeah. So this is a question I have for you guys. Because as women get older, they're more stuck in their ways.
Yep.
Would it be better to pursue women that are younger, even though there's a difference in like cultural, like, you know, there's a generational gap basically. What is it better to date women that are younger that have had less male attention and male exposure that's kind of like warping their brain a bit, and they're less stuck in their ways and they're more open to being led by a proper man who wants to lead them toward the light?
I think you have to qualify that question because there's a big difference between 20 to 30 and 30 to 40, even though they're both 10 years, or 40 to 50. You're probably not even going to have like a big difference, but 20 to 30, you could have a huge difference. My position has always been that it's better to date girls who are either like your age or maybe up to 5 or 6 years younger. But if you're like 23 and you're dating an 18-year-old, that could still be like too much of a maturity gap. Depends on the girl. I don't know. You can make an argument for both sides.
I've got an answer here. Before I do, what tests do you give your girls? I'm so curious about this.
I'm gonna keep it hidden. I'll tell you.
Okay, because I want the test. I want the test too.
We'll share tests
I'm going
after.
on a date
Michael,
tonight.
you probably. Oh, are you talking about the internet detective stuff?
No.
No,
Sorry, I
I
just
want
meant
to
like
know all of it.
Yeah,
I'll
you
give
mentioned
one
like
of
you
it.
get us to do a
One
few
is called
tests.
pimeyes.com, and you can take a girl's photo and it'll show you. It basically is like the best like facial detection, and it'll show you everywhere it exists online, including porn. OnlyFans,
yeah, for sure,
including
that's great.
escort websites, all the like databases and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really good way to check for that.
Yo, can you send that to me? Because I'm going to talk about that on my show tomorrow. That's a great fuck. Because I think a lot of the girls, when I say that, they're going to be like, "What the fuck? Does something like that exist?"
Oh,
I have like the most
shit.
autistic deep dive lesson called "Never Date Toxic Girls Again" and how.
Okay, so let me hold on. Stop. What did we talk about before? Listen to what Austen's saying. Hey, we have this website where we can go and search every website that this girl has ever been on. This is good dating advice that would come across as toxic to the general population. This is a great example of what I'm talking about. If I'm a man and I have worked a lot to ensure my own personal self-worth, my own personal net worth to be able to take care of me, my family, my mother, my nieces and nephews. And I've done that. And I'm putting that at jeopardy from a woman who's done things in her past. Maybe she's broken the law or she's done pornography and lied to me about it. And the idea that I shouldn't know is ridiculous. I should be able to know this. And so this is a great example of something, because you understand, Austin.
I'll give another
women,
one for just personality is like just the big 5 personality tests, you know, the Ocean: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism. If you have a girl that's super open to experience, she's gonna be more curious. And then women low in conscientiousness, they tend to be more impulsive. the combination of those two, it makes women more likely to be like adventurous, impulsive, curious to try new things, and they're actually way more likely to cheat if they have those kind of skewed.
The
Like
female
Way
version
more
of that
likely to
is, are
cheat.
we dating the same guy? Like that's like any guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem. So I went on there to like look at that shit. Oh, I'm sorry. Are we dating this guy? There's one. Are we dating the same girl? And I went to look at that shit, and it's just a bunch of dudes getting cut. Like that's a terrible fucking website.
Yeah.
Bunch
I mean,
of
are
dudes
we
getting
dating
cut.
the same guys? Mostly like toxic, feminists, like shitting on guys. My girlfriend actually, I had her create an account, so like I was curious if I was on there, and then eventually they caught on because like she's in my YouTube video. She's like, "Oh, she's with him." Like perma ban her. She's a traitor to the cause.
That's
Lol.
hilarious. Yeah, I've had a bunch of students that are like, "Hey, this guy like slept with me, and then he slept with my friend," and like, it's so funny. Yeah, when it comes
This
to
is
like, screening,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say when it comes to screening, we probably all have a similar thing, but like I teach guys basically a relationship filter, with the idea that the first thing you should just basically when you meet a girl is I wouldn't even be wondering like is this girlfriend material and shit. I think it's just like a bad frame to set from the beginning. I think it gets guys too needy. Basically, the first question I ask is, do I want to have sex with this girl? That's it. Do I want to sleep with her? And if you are a virgin at 40 years old and you filter out every fucking girl, you probably need to open that filter up a little bit. And if you're having sex like 3 times a day and you're tired, then you can probably close that filter a little bit. But that should be the first question. And then everything based on that is from behaviors. Okay. Now, time is important. You should never get into a relationship within like a month, right? Time is important. I suggest all my students at least 6 months, ideally 12. But behaviors are what you need to base this on. So as Austen was saying, he's got a list of behaviors he looks for. I think other important ones is like, okay, simple ones. How does she act around my friends? Do I enjoy her friends? Does she get along with her friends? What's she like around her family? What is she, when she talks about them? What's she like when we spend a weekend away together? Like all these should progressively build up. And then you can basically ask yourself and filter out these goals. Like you might want to keep them as just a rotation goal or a fuck buddy or like something a little bit more serious and casual. And then it can build up to the point when you've spent 6 to 12 months with this girl, you have all the behaviors ticked off. You know who this girl is, and it's not a fantasy that you created. This is a time now where you can ask yourself, and better yet, ask your friends around you in case you've got some blind spots here, and then come to a decision after she wants this and is chasing for it. And it's not, please God, not after 1 month where you dive in this based off fantasy and then like you're a year in and it's a horrible toxic relationship.
Yeah, and just seeing how a girl treats people is a really good indication of all these qualities I'm talking about. You don't need to go super autism mode. Like if she treats waiters bad, that's a good sign that she's psychopathic.
Yeah.
I had this I was dating this Japanese girl once, and she talked to the waiter like this. I do not want this. Take it away from my plate. Like this. And I was like, damn, this girl's fucking nuts. And I wanted to test, like, if I gave her the dark triad test, is she going to come up high in psychopathy? And sure enough, I gave her the test, and she's like 60% psychopathic or whatever, 60 out of 100 on that. So it's like, and for women, it's even rarer to get high psychopathy. So yeah,
I'm surprised she didn't like alter her answers to seem more normal.
Yeah, well, the way you go about it, you don't go, hey, here's a test to see if you're a piece of shit. You go, here's a fun personality test that you could take to see if we get along.
I feel
Which
like
in and of itself is a very Machiavellian way to ask for the test, but
you fucking
whatever.
psycho. I feel
Marcus,
like
are you the one bringing up the relationship after 12 months or something? You're the one usually starting it up, or are you letting?
No, I mean, what it's usually going to look like is after like 3 months, girls are usually going to give you the what are we, depending on how you framed it. Some guys, like, they set a relationship frame from the beginning, so you get this after like 2 weeks. So it's like, what are we? But ideally, like after a few months, girls, you kind of set the right behaviors for them, but they'll start to wonder, like, hey, where is this going? Like, what should I expect? Kind of what are we? And that's when I kind of give them the talk, which is like, look, this needs to be owned, okay? Like, if it's clearly girl, I just want to have sex, that's it. I'll just be like, look, I'm not looking for anything right now. I'm happy with what we got. I really like you, but I like this casual dynamic, right? But if it's someone I actually see someone more with, then yeah, that's what I'd say. I'd be like, look, I want to see where this goes. But yeah, I'm not going to dive into anything. Like we need time to figure this out. And so we're going to wait and see. And so usually what happens is you progressively get asked every now and again, like, this is moving forward, what are we? And then eventually when you've decided, like, this is what I want, this is where basically you accept it. You say, okay, we can be in whatever dynamic you want now, right? But yeah, that's a really good point. I wouldn't want it to be like after 12 months where this girl is like doesn't really give a fuck. She sees you once every few weeks and doesn't want to be in a relationship, and then you're begging her to be. Yeah, it's obviously needs to be reciprocated. Yeah, good point.
All right, question
Good
for
stuff.
you guys. Do you think it's good advice for telling very short men that are trying to date in the West to go to places where the average height is shorter, like Peru and Guatemala and Philippines?
Not at all.
I literally had Ty Lopez tell me the same thing. He's like, if you're short, don't go to the Norwegian or don't go to Scandinavian countries, go to South America. I don't know if I believe in that, but go ahead. I'm curious what you guys have to say.
I mean, me and Michael wear lifts all the time. So
Yeah.
I'm kidding, bro.
Hey, they write that about you too? Is it just me?
No,
it's just they write that about you? There's hundreds of
I'm already
people
7
writing this shit
foot. I'm
about
with
me.
Chad. So yeah, look, I think like when it does come to looks, I think height does play like a pretty big role. And if you confine yourself amongst a population that's a little bit shorter in a vacuum, that would probably be beneficial. But to be beneficial to the level that I'd recommend someone like leaving their country and traveling there, I just don't think that adds up. Like there's, as I said, like I think we spoke about like traveling last week or maybe the week before. Yeah, like if you want to travel and you want to go somewhere else and game is a part of that, you might want to look at like what type of girls do I like? What are the values that I have, and you know what women from what countries value that a little bit more. So, for example, Eastern Europe really like very masculine, dominant men. Somewhere like, so yeah, I think these are something that might come into your decision. But to base everything on there, on average, smaller girls in this country, so I'm going to go there. I think that's pretty fucking wild.
Yeah, risk too high of a risk, not enough reward, man. It's fucking crazy.
Let me pull up this comment. Can you ask Marcus, how do you get the mindset that you really deserve the hot girl you want to approach when your daily life is normal average and your average shape and average height?
Yeah, so I don't think you need to really convince yourself that you deserve the hot girl, because like in all honesty, you guys might disagree with me on this, but in all honesty, when I first started game, if I looked at the super hot, like 10 out of 10 amazing girl, like I probably didn't deserve her. Like I probably wasn't attracted, or I probably wasn't attractive to her. There were a lot of things I had to like change and adapt. And so the way I kind of looked at it, I never went up to a girl and said, do I deserve her or not? I just kind of said, okay, these are the characteristics that I have. This is what I'm trying to learn and get better at. This is kind of what I want to display to her. And I'm going to go in there not asking this question, am I deserving or not? I'm just going to go in there and focus on the skill set. Then, yeah, I did get to a point where I'm like, hey, listen, I've built up my value. I'm no longer some fucking broke kid that was like 18 or some shit. And I know that my behaviors and the skills that I built up are good enough to build attraction with almost every single girl. And I'm going to go in there and do it. So it just became a very objective thing. I don't think I had to sit there and focus on, am I worthy or not or some shit. That doesn't matter. It's just go in there and practice the skill and improve over time.
Let me pull up this question also. Do women purposely give bad dating advice? Thank you for the super chat, Jake. Yeah, do I think some do, but I don't think it's conscious. I think that women are just, I don't think it's conscious. Like, I think that they're just repeating what sounds good to them, even though if it might not work on them. They'll always say, well, I'm the exception. Oh, but I'm different. Newsflash, most girls are not different. But yeah, I think they're just repeating what sounds good, rather than like, I don't think they're consciously, most of them are not consciously sitting there thinking like, okay, I'm gonna fuck over these men. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think they're honestly confused too. Like sometimes they say like they've been told what they want their whole life, what they want, and it doesn't always equal like what gets them turned on, what gets them really attracted. So I think they're saying one thing and then they're like, oh fuck, I'm back in the same situation. You know, this guy's turning me on or something like that. I don't think it's conscious at all.
Yeah, it's certainly not. So I want you to consider like the idea of women competing with other women for men. There's one study that showed this one guy. Showed several guys, and these guys averaged. Women asked, "Is this guy attractive?" About 59% of men, 59% of women said that these guys were attractive when they found out he was single. When they found out he was taken, it was 90% of women found him to be attractive. Women competing with other women for men is good advice, But it's good for us and it's bad for women. If you ask women, often they'll tell you that isn't good advice. So I don't think they deliberately are giving bad advice. I think it's one of these situations where they're describing what makes them feel comfortable instead of what makes them feel attractive, because explaining to a woman what makes her attracted to men is like explaining water to a fish. She can't envision not being attracted to someone. She can't envision being attracted to someone she's not attracted to. From her standpoint, attraction is this fuzzy feeling that just sort of manifests inside of her, instead of like, whereas men, we have to work so much harder. We actually study attraction. Women rarely do. So I think that's where that's a little bit different.
Yeah, I agree with this. I think like if you look at all the studies that are survey data that ask what women want in a man, okay, you get a lot of this like, yeah, he needs to be 6'4", he needs to earn over 100K, all this bullshit. But if you actually just look at the data of who women are dating on average, obviously it's not that. And so I think like what women say they want is often not what they want. But I will say, like if we think of someone that, you know, Austen was dating, the girl with the 6% fucking psychopath reading, I think if you're dating a girl, a lot of times they will try give you information that will keep you away from getting other women. Like I've experienced this where girls will be like, no, I really like this on you. You should really wear this. Or like, don't worry, you don't need to go to the gym. Or like, yeah, you should. Like,
poison dripping.
If you're, sorry, what was that?
Yeah, poison dripping.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like if you're with a girl and she's the one giving you advice, I 100% wouldn't fucking listen to that. But yeah, I think a lot of the time they just don't know.
Yeah, she's not going to put herself in a position that's going to disadvantage her, and she might not even realize that she's doing it. She's also not like, it's like the deer's not going to teach you how to kill deer. Like it's really difficult. She's going to tell you things like, again, if a woman is attracted to a man, she's going to say, I want him to bring me flowers. But what she wants is a man she's attracted to bring her flowers. If the average guy or if a homeless guy brought her flowers, she would think it was fucking weird. If a guy she's attracted to came to her work and bought her flowers, she would think it's sweet. If a man she's not attracted to would come and bring her flowers, she would think he's a stalker. And so that's the difference. It's like, but they can't see that when you explain that to them, they're like, oh yeah, obviously. Duh, obviously, but they don't see the difference because they're not men. They can't conceive of being attracted to someone they're not attracted to. Whereas we as men have done this several times. Every one of on this panel have women not be attracted to us and then become attracted to us. And if you ask them, they can't even explain why.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. Oh, let's go back to the other question that I pulled up, and we can get to this one. I'll quickly answer this. Yeah, you would probably have to just get a new. You can get a new device, or at the very least, get a new phone number and just try that. If that doesn't work, just get a new device. You can buy them on eBay for like $50. That'll probably be the best thing you could do. Or you can use like your mom's phone number. I've done that a lot. Okay.
Yeah, just screenshot this. You can do this like infinitely. And the benefit of doing this method is you can get the new account bonus and it like boosts your account. So
yeah. Here's a good question. Why is pickup dying? What do you guys think about this?
I mean, I know the answer, but I want to hear what you guys.
I don't know what that means.
He said
yeah, so it's
right
the
there.
reason why pickup's dying is because human brains, we're devolving away from socializing, and that part of our brain is decayed, and we're basically getting rid of it. And now we're evolving past being able to have sexual reproduction, and like now people don't like. No, I'm trolling. Basically, there's no reality in the near future where pickup would not work, because it's if a woman wants to meet a man and that man comes up to meet her, she's going to be receptive to that most of the time. So I reject your premise.
Yeah, I don't think it's done. I think what that guy meant really is that with the whole blow up of social media, it's just it's taken a back seat, or people have just become
I would say
more
it's the exact opposite now, because there's like it's kind of like, you know how shopping went online and now it's like the malls kind of came back slightly a bit, or like, you know how they thought GameStop was just going to go completely away, but then it kind of, you know, so it's like they're finding the equilibrium, and a lot of dating apps now kind of suck. Like Alex had a video on this recently, how like the dating apps are getting worse and worse. And Todd put out a video on basically why dating apps, it's like it's bad for men and women now.
Yeah.
And so that's why you see the resurgence of people meeting in real life, meeting in small groups, going back to church, running clubs, dude, I went out this weekend with my clients. there was more people out than I've seen in like years. Like it's just people. I think we're back in many ways. Trump's back, pickup's
Trump's
back.
back.
Like everything's good in the world.
I think he's talking about the pickup community, though, not pickup in itself.
Yeah. The concept of going up to a woman,
Oh.
if she's attracted to you, of course, that's still going to work. But you talk about the community. I think
2018, like 500 to 1,000 YouTube channels got taken off. They basically just destroyed hundreds of men's businesses. As a result of that, several dating coaches like committed suicide. So there's that, and then also
rest in
there's
peace
just
to
more
that dating
social
coach who just died.
backlash to being a pickup coach.
I think those played a role, but I think the biggest factor is simply that people have become deconditioned to any kind of hard work. People want the easiest, quickest fix. And pickup advice isn't really that sexy. Good pickup advice is like, hey, you have to go out and work on your approach anxiety, stretch your comfort zone. Like, people are just so deconditioned to put in that kind of effort, mental and physical. So other advice that's like that sounds sexier, like, oh, just work on yourself and the girls will come to you, is just more people are gravitating towards that because people want easy fixes.
Yeah, I think
Even back in the good-looking loser days, remember, like there's something I do now. I know I saw your channel. So basically, to grow your dick, you're growing it at such a small pace that 99% of people can't even do it. They won't even stick to it, right?
Yeah,
and
it takes
even
a
when they
lot of
do
time.
trials on extenders and pumps, people don't even follow through with the trials. But if you just stick to it, it works. It's
Yeah.
like the gym.
just take
It's also the
HGH like normal
instant-
people.
Yeah, it's the instant. It's at the instant growth too. They're missing the immediate change that happens too. Over an extended period of time you'll get a little bit of growth, but like the instant blow up is the best part.
Gain 7 inches in overnight.
Yeah. Social media and dating apps have caused us to have a shortened attention span, and then more of that attention span is now absorbed by social media. And you're right. The thing is, it's not that women don't go out, it's that they can also additionally get validation from not going out from social media. Whereas men, we're going to get our validation, unless we're addicted to pornography, we're generally going to get our validation from the touch and compliance and sexual access to women. While sex is also some form of compliance for them, more so women are going to get their compliance from all these guys in my DMs, all these guys right swiping on me, all these guys liking my posts. I like it when people like my posts, but I don't get sexual validation from it. And so I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing a lot less in real life. I'm just going to talk about nightclubs and malls. I'm definitely not seeing anywhere near as many people in malls. Definitely, whenever I go to nightclubs, the ratio where I used to go to exclusive nightclubs and there was way more women than men. When I'm in Los Angeles, Miami, or when I'm in Las Vegas, I don't see that anymore. The only place where I see really crazy ratio are very exclusive parties that I'll go to, and definitely like really high-end restaurants. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying it doesn't quite exist to the level. I remember going out in Los Angeles in 2004 to 2006. I would go out to clubs and I would see the most beautiful women I'd ever seen. And I don't see that anymore. I see a lot of obesity whenever I go out. I think that's another issue. And so because of that, I think a lot of these beautiful women, they only go out for special occasions. I talk to a lot of girls who are, huge models, and I'm like, hey, do you ever go out to nightclubs in Los Angeles? They're like, never. I would never go out to one of those. So that's the only thing that I've seen is that it's not that women don't want to go out. It's that they can additionally get validation from, 10,000 guys watching them on OnlyFans, them getting several hundred matches on Tinder, and them getting several hundred likes on Instagram. And that's taken some of they're like goldfish, some of their limited attention span, and then it's pulled it away from in real life interaction.
Yeah, I think that's true enough. Let's quickly address this. So just two people, but basically they're saying that the success rate with pickup is very low. This guy's saying specifically it's lower than dating apps. Yeah, like my thought on this is that, like, yeah, pickup, look, the best, if you get really, really good at cold approach, you'll still probably sleep with at most like maybe 10% of the girls you approach, like 12%. You're not going to get to like 40% or 50% of the girls you approach, unless you're doing like what Michael Sartain is doing, but that's not really like pickup per se. So yeah, but like I think that for a lot of guys, like, I don't know, for me, that never really discouraged me. That never really discouraged me. Like, I was like, yeah, sure. All I have to do is approach 10 girls and I'll get laid. Like, I don't really, but I think if you really, really care about being rejected and you really, really want to protect your ego, then yeah, that can play a role. But then the advantage is that, like, with cold approach, you have access to a whole bunch of girls, sometimes hotter girls than you would with dating apps. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think people also think of it like there's like this box, you put something in it, and then a certain percentage of time something comes out of it. But the reality with going and meeting girls, you get better at it over time. So you can kind of think of going out like a gym for your social skills. Like you can practice your voice, you can practice your eye contact, you can practice using the girl's name, you can practice leading, you can practice seating, you can practice talking about more, edgy topics. Like there's so many possible things you can do to improve your personality, improve your social skills, improve your, seduction skills just by going out. So don't look at it like, I did this and it didn't work. It's like, no shit, dummy. Like you don't go into the gym and squat 225 your first time. Like you have to learn the basics, and then over time it gets better and better. And if you're coming across as a low status man when you're approaching, no woman's gonna want you, just straight up. So you have to learn the skills of how do I present myself in a more high status way? How do I communicate in a more high status way? And over time you learn that way. So it's a very one-dimensional thinking of just this is good results, this is bad results. The truth is you can get more results than you can even handle no matter what system you do. You could get, for most guys, most successful guys, they can't even handle 2 or 3 dates a week. 3 dates a week, they're like, fuck, bro, I can't. You can get that amount doing online game, Instagram ads, cold approach, social circle, fucking just being, creating the worst dating advice, that one guy that just attracts women through that, making Instagram content that's fun. You could meet that amount of women. Even my friends that I grew up playing a lot of jazz music, and several of my friends are professional jazz musicians now, and they just meet girls through playing jazz. There's so many different dating strategies that work that can get you the results you want. And it's just, what do you want to put your time into creating? And yeah.
Yeah, in my personal experience, cold approach allows you to show a lot more attraction triggers, let's say, or there's a lot more room there. So for myself, the hottest girls I've ever slept with have usually been from in-person interactions, usually been from either social circle or from cold approach. I feel like there is a slight limit that can happen from online dating. But as Austen said, as I said, it's a slight limit. You can still sleep with a bunch of girls. You can still sleep with multiple girls. And it's going to depend on the type of guy that you are. If you're just really good looking, but incredibly shy, then you're going to kill it on dating apps, and you're probably going to do really bad in cold approach. If you're an average looking dude or a butt ugly guy, but you're incredibly charismatic, you're going to do a lot better in cold approach than you're going to do on online dating. So you might have to look at your strengths, look at, how much time you're willing to put in here, look at what you're after, and make that decision. But at the end of the day, just do both. Right? There's benefits. You can sit on the fucking toilet and jump on Tinder, and then every Friday, Saturday night, you can go out, or you walk into the grocery store, go approach someone. So
I think it depends on priority, though. If your goal is to sleep with some of the hottest girls or meet the best girls, then it's not. But if your goal is just to avoid rejection, your main goal is just I want to get while avoiding rejection, then yeah, that's a different story. But I think that's a faulty premise to begin with.
Yeah, true.
This is I think Austen always just skips my questions.
Sorry, what was the other one?
Okay, he said, what are your top 3 pieces of advice? For me, I've been taking a break from pickup for 2 years. I know what to do, but I can't bring myself to do it. The answer is pretty boring, but it's force yourself to do it. Make a rule. I will not eat tomorrow unless I approach a girl. It's kind of boring advice.
Easy one. Take a $50 bill, give it to your friend. Say, if I don't go approach 50 girls, you get to keep this. There's real simple stuff. Make it about some other part of your ego other than this evolutionary necessity to avoid rejection. If you can do that, it becomes very easy. And by the way, it won't be terror for the first 50 approaches. It'll be terror for the first 3 or 4. Then it will be kind of, oh, this is cool. And then around number 35, you're just having fun. And now you're playing a fucking character and you don't even care. You come up, start pretending to speak German. They don't fucking know what you're doing. And you're just laughing the whole time. Okay. So that is the issue. You guys have to understand. If you go to people, irrational fears is a great study on this in evolutionary psychology. When you go over irrational fears. So if I were to ask someone, what are you most afraid of? What's most likely to kill you? Spiders, snakes, sharks, or cars. There's spiders, snakes, sharks, airplanes, or that we say cars, French fries, or there's just several other things. And then of course everyone's spiders, snakes. They feel the most fear from public speaking. When a car is 100,000x more likely to kill you than a shark is, they still are more afraid of a shark. And then they're texting while driving because they don't have the evolutionary adaptation to recognize what the actual fears are. They're still stuck on ancestral fears. one of our ancestral fears growing up, Dunbar's number, about 115 to 150 people who lived in a tribe, is if I made a fool of myself by approaching this group of 7 or 8 women that I might be able to breed with, and I approach them incorrectly and they reject me, then I'm just out forever. Or if I approach the chieftain's wife or girlfriend or daughter in the wrong way, then the punishment is death. The punishment is death. There are certain
ostracized from the tribe.
There are certain points in our evolutionary history where us going and approaching the wrong woman and saying the wrong thing did indeed lead to death. And so because of that, we carry that baggage and that trauma with us as men. And that's the reason why we have this. But like I said before, if you've jumped out of an airplane, if you did it 10 times in a day, by the last time you have so much renal fatigue, you don't even feel, it's not afraid anymore, because it's kind of not an irrational fear. Jumping out of an airplane is a rational fear, but like looking over a balcony, for instance, you get over it over time. And the same thing will happen with approach anxiety, especially in today's society. We live in a liberal democracy. You can go and talk to a woman. If she rejects you, everything is fucking okay. No matter how much it feels like it might not be, it's still going to be okay. And so when you get over that irrational fear, just like your excessive fear of sharks, snakes, and spiders, which is not realistic unless you live in Australia, which your fear of snakes is very fucking real. If you live in a place like in a high rise in Las Vegas, you should not worry about a fear of fucking snakes. You should worry about a fear of eating like shit. That's what you should worry about.
Off rip, I would say too, like get a wingman or something to help you off. At the beginning, I wouldn't know what to do without it, to be honest with you. I would say go out with somebody. I think Marcus said too, like when he first started, he didn't even have a guy who was approaching, but just going out with a guy, even if he was like sitting in the corner drinking, it just gave you someone to bounce off of, come back to just in case you get rejected,
Yeah, and I think just taking the pressure and meaning off is just like the easiest thing. Like if you was literally sitting in a bar and you were like, fuck, I don't know where the toilets are, you're really going to feel a level of social anxiety that you can go ask someone that. Like, of course, you're just going to go ask. You're not even going to think about it. You're going to ask someone the time if you didn't know the time. The only reason this feels so fucking difficult is because of the meaning you're putting behind it. You're doing that question where you're like, am I good enough? Right? Are they going to reject me as a fucking person? At the end of the day, they don't know who the fuck you are. And what you need to do is just create this idea that you're just testing behaviors and seeing what those behaviors do. So yeah, you can go up and say something fucking stupid if you want, or you can go up and, try use an opener. But at the end of the day, it's just behaviors that you're testing. And then as Michael said, create the narrative after. You could do 1,000 approaches and not actually improve at all. If every single time you do it, you tell yourself, I suck, I'm not good enough, I got rejected. The narrative is important. So take the pressure off, test the behaviors, and then the narrative should be what behavior worked and what behavior didn't work. If the behavior is speaking loud and you're at a cafe and you scared everyone, didn't work, then just lower it down a little bit. It's got nothing to do with you. You didn't get rejected. Who gives a fuck? Just the behavior, doing that. And $50, get a wing, all that. You'll be completely fine.
Let's address this comment.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I wanted to do. No, it's not. You can easily be permanently ostracized or falsely accused of SA. You are not falsely accused of sexual assault for approaching a woman in a fucking mall or a night.
Never happened once.
It is never going to happen. Okay,
happen.
You're being. But the problem is what's going on here is this feeling that you're having. You're already putting up the shield to avoid future rejection by saying this. I've been on this show a few times and I've given you my 4 rules, right? Remember, number 1, men do not pour women's drinks. Number 2, all common areas in your place need to have a camera, not in the bathroom, not in the bedroom, but the common areas, the walkway throughs need to have so they can see the woman coming in of her own volition and leaving of her own volition. Number 3, we do not send lascivious messages to women. We just don't do it. If we have her come over, we can do lascivious things with her, but we don't send lascivious message. We do this to protect ourselves. And then number 4, the day after you have sex with her, you send her a message, hey, had a great time. Let's meet up again this week. She writes one back saying, hey, I had a great time too. That way later on when she goes, oh my God, he took advantage of me. When her boyfriend finds out about it, you don't get in trouble. This is how we protect ourselves from situations like this. Going up and approaching a stranger in a bar is not going to lead to a sexual assault allegation.
Michael, are you saying take screenshots of these texts? That's kind of right.
No, he's saying
no. I'm saying don't write lascivious messages.
Oh,
dude, I kind of want to use a screenshot of this guy's message and just put it over like an Instagram reel of me approaching. It's like, hey, I was walking my dog and I thought you looked kind of adorable.
What the fuck is
say hi? What's your name?
How do you get permanently ostracized?
Ostracized
in America? Like, how do you get permanently ostracized? What does that mean?
Guys, hold on. Before let me say this again. For Ryan, You live in a country where a man fucking transitioned to become a woman, cut his dick off, ran over someone, killed them, and became Woman of the Year 4 months later. You live in a country where a guy used campaign funds to pay off a prostitute and then was elected president of the United States last week. You live in a country where a guy fucking punches his wife in a movie, does a bunch of quaaludes, fucks a bunch of prostitutes, kidnaps his own child, and he is one of the top sales trainer on earth, Jordan Belfort.
Who's that?
Jordan Belfort.
Oh, Jordan.
Yeah. You live in a country where a man allegedly stabs his ex-wife and his friend 56 times. And before he died, O.J. Simpson was offered millions of dollars to host a fantasy football podcast. You do not get ostracized in the United States. No, you don't. That is absurd.
I think it's I agree with everything. There is a point here though. There are times that you just want to be socially calibrated, of course. So like if you're opening a girl and then she's like, sorry, I'm busy. And you walk her with her ability. Yeah, I just want to say. She's like, no, really, I'm busy. Don't follow her down the fucking street for 5 minutes saying like, oh, just one more thing. You're trying to talk to her. Like that shit is going to feel like she's being followed and is going to feel like super creepy. There are like levels here where you want some like social calibration, of course. But yeah, this is not going to happen, right?
But just to be fair, even if you do that, which I agree is cringe, right? It's not something you should do. Even if you do that, you still won't get charged for sexual assault, right? If it's somewhere.
No, you're not going to charge for sexual assault.
Also, at a higher level, if you're asking that question, that means that it's not going to happen to you because you're already so paranoid of it. So it's not even an issue.
No, I mean.
Or maybe it's already happened, and that's why. I'm kidding.
Yeah, or
he's in the ostrich den.
It's never happened to these people. It's just a fantasy world they live in where they think that, like, if you talk to a girl, there's a 50% chance you wind up in jail. Like, that's,
also for us, I don't think these people are ever gonna like do anything or do something.
They view us as like police officers or firefighters. So, like they think we're risking our lives every time we go out and talk to a girl. Like
that's true. Yeah.
Here's where the evolutionary mismatch is for us as men. Right. Here's the problem. All of us do jobs for the most part where we're just for the most part. This isn't a 1-to-1 correlation. When we work harder and we fulfill the wishes of the people we work with, we get more responsibility and get paid more money. Generally in the workforce as men, I'm a sales guy. I meet all my KPIs. I go above and beyond. I hit all my quotas. I'm rewarded with more responsibility and more money. When I use logic, accountability, and reason in order to solve problems as a man in the workforce, I am rewarded. Whenever I try to do the same things with women, I am fucking punished. And that is the difference. That's why there's this disconnect with so many of these guys who some of the guys in the chat right now, I bet you are some of them are financially successful. They've been able to, maybe they're programmers, maybe they've learned how to do drop shipping, FBA, something like that. And they become financially successful. And they use that same level of reason, accountability, and logic when they go on a date with women, and they don't understand why it doesn't fucking work. They don't understand why using a resume in order to get a job works to get a job, but I try to show my resume to a woman and I'm actually qualifying myself and I'm lower status. They don't grasp that. And so that's where the ultimate disconnect is for these men. And as more and more men, as we've seen, are testing positive for being autism spectrum disorder, we're seeing a greater gap. And that's where we see questions like the ones we asked. I don't think you have a clear understanding or you have a clear feedback loop or you are clearly calibrated if you're asking the question or if you're saying me approaching a woman in a bar is going to lead to sexual assault.
I think it comes from a clear lack of experience. Like this is coming from someone who has never cold approached a girl. Like this is
it's chicken or the egg though. What if you are autistic, which caused you to never go approach a girl, or the very few times that you had that experience, it was extremely negative and uncomfortable for you because when you went and approached a girl, you as an autistic person, you want patterns, you want things to be simple. And then when you go and talk to her, things were random and chaotic. You were nice to her, she wasn't nice to you back. This is not formulaic. This is not the pattern that you're searching for. You get very upset by this. And I think that's where we're seeing a lot of this disconnect. It's just when I can explain, as often to my clients, when we deal with business and other men, when we perform our job, we are rewarded. When we deal with money, when we deal with women, if we do everything she asks us, we are punished every time. Go ahead. What's the next question?
Yeah, I wanted to this is at a more basic level. There's this website, autismspeaks.org. You can sign up for like a basic social skills course, and they show you just like in general realistic settings, like what is proper.
Bro, 5 years ago, everyone had been laughing in the chat. I'm not laughing anymore. What you just said is actually correct. A lot of these dudes need to be taking this fucking test. It's getting nuts. Some of the questions I'm getting.
I think ironically, the red pill stuff is kind of what you're describing, Michael. It's like you are what your stats, and that's it. That they're not really teaching social skills or anything like that. It's just your stats, and you should get this.
Yeah, I don't think the red pill. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think what it is I would look at pickup or any kind of like even social circle as offense, and I would look at red pill as and tradcon thing as more as defense. I don't think that a lot of people in red pill are claiming that here's how you have good game. What they're doing is here's how you don't get divorced and lose half your money. I think it's more defense than offense. Like Mode 1 is a book about offense. Like, you know what I'm saying? The Rational Male is a book about defense. So it was like it's offense and defense in this whole situation. I'm way more interested in all. I'm sure most of us in this call, we're more offensive coordinators. We're more offensive guys. So I don't really care. I'll date a girl if she's a fucking doesn't agree with me politically. If she doesn't believe if she believes the earth is flat, if she's hot enough, I don't give a shit. Because I don't really care about defense that much. I'm an all offense guy.
No, but their strategy is more to be like, I'm 6'4", I make six figures, I have a six pack. So they're also
Scotty, I think you're describing their description of what they think women want from men through female hypergamy. I don't think they're describing because guys in the red pill aren't saying I'm 6'4", therefore you as 5'6" can never get a woman. What they're saying is I have to do other things to overcome the fact that I'm 5'6".
Yeah, I think it's all cope. Like, I think some of the advice they do go, I agree. There's rarely ever advice. And when they do give advice, it's usually just like get rich or something. But
yeah,
it's
nothing super actionable.
Wait, I would say this though. I think a lot of red pillars hide behind the fact that they say they don't give advice, but a lot of them do without calling it advice. I do agree with Michael's analogy somewhat, but I think the problem becomes, and not all red pillars do this, but it's pretty common, is when they just talk about the negative experiences, they paint a false picture that this is like what the average experience is like without giving the proper context that, hey, this is an extremely isolated incident, or here, like without that proper context, it's very easy. And you get people who are like, at the end of the day, are like, fuck, if I approach a girl, I'm going to get arrested.
Yeah.
All right, we can, you want to go to this question? A monogamous relationships actually sustainable over 5-10 years? Surely these have just become friendships and equal. I mean, I'm going on. Well, I'm not monogamous, so never mind.
Yeah, no, they're definitely possible. Like I've just met people who what I see the way that it works is how much stimulus are you willing to remove from your life in order to try to make it work? And most people aren't willing to do that because stimulus can become addictive. So if you told me that a man and a woman got married and both of them decided to delete their social media and move to Wyoming, I would tell you that, the monogamy will probably work for them. It probably would. I'll tell you that if they decide to move to Brickell and she is a model and he works in some kind of like, I don't know, yacht sales or some shit like that, they're going to be so inundated with stimulus that probably we're looking at a 5 to 10 year life, maybe a kid or two, and then an ugly divorce, and then we move on to the next one. I think that's more likely, but I think it's a function of how much stimulus are you willing to remove from your life in order to make monogamy work. If you are watching pornography on a regular basis, Dr. Buss talks about this in his book where he goes over the fact when men are seeing sexual images of women, and then asked to rate their partner, they rate their partner as lower. They give their partner a lower rating after watching porn. That's really scary when you think about it. That's really scary when you think about it. So it's not men are just like, well, I'm just jacking off to porn when my wife's away for, at her aunt's place or whatever. No, you actually are less desirous of her from watching the porn, which hurts any chance you have at monogamy.
You gotta start watching really gross porn, and then you're like, damn, my girl.
Well, get off the porn, bro, dude. I bet 2 girls 1 cup has really helped guys get off the porn. I bet it has.
I watched that for 10 seconds when I was a fucking teenager, never again. Here's an interesting question: how come guys don't? Actually, I don't know if it's that. Don't want to believe when women say they like a man with confidence. I don't. Most guys do believe that.
I asked for clarification on this in the chat. I want to see. The guys are accusing women of giving bad advice. They believe the advice to be simp, but they don't believe when women say they like confidence.
Well,
is that on the screen here?
We're being a little hyperbolic, but there's some advice that girls could give that's good. Like if a girl says this, that's good, but it could be combined with like 10 pieces of shitty advice. Not all women give shitty advice. Like Kezia Noble, I think is pretty spot on with advice.
For sure. I agree. But I think the thing is like how self-aware is the woman, and then how detached is she from making herself look a certain way. Kezia Noble is not interested in making herself look like a church woman. So I heard this saying the other day, the final form of a hoe is a religious woman. It's big, but when you really break down that statement, what does it mean? It's like, I need you to believe I'm like this. I've met girls, I know, I live in Las Vegas. I've met girls who I know for a fact were sex workers. Like, I'm looking for a good man who I can have. I'm in my wife stage. I have a friend of mine right now. She's filmed porn on browsers with multiple different dudes, and she's tried to date a friend of mine. And she's like, I'm in my wifey stage, and I'm trying to wife this guy up. And I'm like, it's just so insane to me. And by the way, this woman's probably worth $10-15 million from all the OnlyFans money that she's made, and she's trying to date a buddy of mine, and it's like, I don't understand how she doesn't grasp, the sort of the dissonance of what's going on. But she's going to say whatever she needs to say in order to come across like, in order to come across with the best narrative she can to attract the best man she can. And so because of that, often you're not going to get the best dating advice from women like that. I find, like, again, older women who just don't give a fuck about what other people think about them, they're going to tell you, yeah, dude, if she sees you with another hot chick, she's going to think you're hot. Basically, for me, that's a litmus test. If I ask a girl, if you saw your ex-boyfriend, or if you saw a guy, you weren't like super attracted to him, and you saw him with a hot girl, would you think he's more attractive? If she says yes, I might listen to her. If she says no, that kind of shit would never work on me, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm not going to listen to you.
Yeah, I think well
Dude,
said.
the studies on pre-selection and mate choice copying in humans are fucking crazy. There's like 35 of them, and they all come up with the same exact conclusions.
Here's an interesting question for you, Michael. Mike's the only one who has a program women openly know. Mike, do you and your students ever get blowback from your feminist friends like Emily Sears?
Never.
What is where women openly know? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I have girls come on my
we're hiding it also. I don't tell any of the women.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you guys aren't hiding, but like if you go out in Las
My
Vegas,
girlfriend helps coach immersion with me, so
Yeah.
that girls openly
Don't
know.
tell the women.
Yeah. If you go out in Las Vegas or Los Angeles and you go up to the women and say you're in Men of Action, they don't have a problem. Like, they actually think it's cool. I have a lot of different, like, huge models come on the show. Emily, I asked her to come on my podcast. We do have a bit of an issue because, well, Emily has told me privately, she's like, she doesn't really want to come on my show because she doesn't want to deal with the blowback from her audience. You guys can look up Emily Sears. She's this famous Australian model. But she doesn't, like, vehemently disagree with me. She was upset by the fact that I knew Andrew Tate, and we went back and forth over that. But we're still good friends. Lindsay Palos, who's another huge model I'm friends with, not exactly a feminist. She initially told me she didn't want to come on my show, and then she found out that her boyfriend watches my show. Now she's down to come on my show. So,
I'm looking up Emily Sears right now. She's fucking hot.
Yeah, Emily Sears, I consider her a good friend, man. I really do. She's an awesome person, but yeah, we don't agree politically on a lot of stuff. I'm friends with a bunch of really hot Australian models because of Emily.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I said before. Like, when women know, they don't have a problem. Like, dude, we had girls in Poland that we had a lot of students over there that literally said, I'm only sleeping with guys if they're in UMP, because they're like, I'm just sick of every other man.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know what they're doing. And so, like, there was probably like 3, maybe 4 girls that literally said that. They're like, I'm only going to sleep with guys if you know them. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of, like, once they actually have a chance to, like, understand where you come from, they're usually completely fucking fine with it. Like, I run a podcast as well with a girl. We get a bunch of guests on. Like, it's it's just a matter of, like, informing them. Otherwise, if they just base it off this one idea that, hang on, you're like meant to manipulate women, like, yeah, of course that sounds horrible. But when you understand that manipulation is just really, like, informing them on how to be better people, then yeah, they're cool with it.
Yeah. So what he said before, if you take him, what Marcus just said, if you take Marcus out of context, then it sounds bad. Like, for instance, the clip you made before, we talked about earlier, it's probably better to date girls who are younger than you. Out of context, that sounds like you're grooming women, Alex. That's what I'm talking about. When you give good advice to men, it comes across as toxic to the to other people.
Yeah, out of context.
No, I've had 2 girls. Katie Moore, she said this. The same thing. Jessie Preston, she's a playmate. She's like, I only date guys who took MLA. She's the exact same thing, because they're tired of dealing with men who sit there and overqualify and act extremely insecure, exactly for the same reason. So yeah.
Here's an interesting question. If a girl asks you your Trump supporter, what should you do? Well, obviously, you should give up your Trump supporter. I'm just kidding. Many girls are asking around Cali, NYC, Chicago. I don't want to be someone who has different values. It depends on what you want. Do you want to just get laid? Then just say you're libertarian.
If you want to get laid, then tell her you're a fucking Trump supporter and do not back down and do not accept her frame in any way whatsoever, and don't flinch. And then she's more likely to have sex with the first guy who's never backed down to her. That's actually what he is.
Ryan Long has a bit about this in his act. He goes, this girl's like, yeah, I've never slept with a guy who's a Republican. And he goes, let me let you know about this little technique guys do called lying. Like, they can just tell you. Like, I remember in Toronto back when, like, the SJW stuff was big. I slept with, like, a feminist activist who had, like, dude, the most ridiculous booty. I'll have to send to the chat. But anyway, yeah, she was just like, are you a feminist? I'm like, yeah, my grandma was, like, a big feminist. And she's like, okay, cool, let's have sex. And then, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, even, like, the feminist shit. Like, I just share my opinion. Like, I usually troll them a little bit first and say like, yeah, I don't think women should drive or be able to vote. But then I tell them like, yeah, look, I think there's a line here. Like, yeah, women should have rights. It just shouldn't go to the point that like they're the most superior fucking thing in the world. Like, it just goes too far sometimes. And like,
Toxic.
always have that conversation.
Toxic.
And, yeah, toxic. And
Toxic.
I'll just be honest with them. And same thing with like politics. Look, if there's a girl that is like really left or really right and it's about her identity shit, maybe just don't bring that up, okay? Maybe like avoid talking about politics for the meantime. But if it does come up, she wants to know your opinion, yeah, just stand by what you fucking believe in. And most of the time, as Michael said, that's going to be attractive. But yeah, I understand, like, if you got some crazy fucking women in New York that are like super ideologically driven, yeah, you're going to have a lot of confidence when you do this. And if you're not at that stage of game yet, when you've got a lot of confidence to back up your opinions, then yeah, fucking just don't.
And you gotta avoid making a debate. You gotta like just like completely not give a shit. Like you have to avoid the temptation to start debating her about politics. That always goes down the road. I usually experience the opposite. Well, not often, but I've gone on a date with a few Trump chicks, and they said things like, "Yeah, you're the first like liberal I've ever slept with," or something like that. You guys are usually, I thought you guys were all pussies or cucks or whatever.
Dude, Alex, remember we had all the Trump and Biden gear on. It was hard to get a reaction from them. I mean, they really didn't even give a shit that much, to be honest.
You guys went out and games with the gear on?
Yeah,
we were doing a video. We were picking up girls as a Trump supporter.
Oh, check it out. That's funny.
Yeah, we didn't get the kind of reactions I was hoping for. It was just more like, oh.
That's what was weird about it, was they really didn't give a shit that much. Yeah.
I'm not. Whatever. I guess I don't know. Yeah, he's got some good points. Yeah.
Too good.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times they don't even care that much. You know,
most girls are less political than men on average.
Marcus, you should have Emily Sears on. She goes to Australia every once in a while.
Oh, easy one.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's a trick. You can just say you're a libertarian initially, and no one really knows what that is, and it sounds kind of good because it's like, oh, you believe in like people should do what they want, but no one really understands it, and people just all think it sounds good, so you can just say that.
That's what I would say I am as libertarian, just in general.
Yeah, but you actually are a libertarian from what I know about you, versus most people are not technically a libertarian.
Yeah, I like the fact that I live in a country with a big military. I'm not a libertarian, but I'm close. I agree with a lot of the stuff the libertarians say.
Yeah, on social issues and foreign policy, I would agree with them. But anyway,
I think they're fucking disgusting, and I hate them. Okay,
yeah, fuck them. Let's maybe do a few more questions. Do you have any other interesting questions?
Here we go, Master Yoda. We got a black pillar in there. Oh, here we go, John Doe playing with. Oh yeah, already did this one. Good to see a black Master Yoda. Can you just make your avatar just a black pill? That would be a little simpler for us to figure out.
Let's see
what a woman is first. Ask her to tell you what a woman is first.
Dude, these people are they're triggering me. I'm not a vegetarian.
These vegan guys, seriously, there's a fucking difference. All right,
actually, I do. I take the supplements.
Austin literally eats like fucking raw cow. Like he like not even beef, like a cow. He takes a cow, he fucking takes some meat out, and he's like,
that's actually true. I do eat raw beef like twice a week, just like a beef carpaccio, beef tartare.
I remember when I came over your place and you had that fucking thing of like frozen fucking liver. And you're like, hey, you want some liver, bro?
Wow.
You walk in, liver, you down?
Good B vitamins.
Let's see what this is. Notice how women on podcasts, social media do DUA shaming men as incels for not wanting to be stable husbands in the show. But I feel like, okay, the problem is you get massive sample bias because the majority of girls are not on podcasts, right? The majority of girls, and like if you look at like the podcasts, they're more inclined, they're incentivized to invite the girls who give cringe takes because that's going to be more clippable content. Like there's no incentive for like whatever podcast to invite like a reasonable woman who's like somewhere down the center who believes that like there's no incentive. It's just stuff is like
when I see questions like this, I just think it's like 90% of people are normies that are just kind of I don't resonate with them. They're asking questions about things that don't matter. They eat food that tastes like shit, looks like shit. They poison themselves. They drive gay cars. Like, I don't get it. Why don't you just want to be like awesome?
Which car is gay? Which is gay?
I don't know. They just drive like I don't know some fucking Toyota or something. I don't know.
It's
just like I don't like normies. I like people that either are awesome or they want to be great and awesome. God, I don't understand this. I get that they make society function and all that. We need the slave force and all that, but it's just like the thinking of it is just I don't want to be dragged down to this like 99% thinking that's just so fucking dumb. That's why I do like you, Michael, because you read like evolutionary psychology. You're reading from the best. Most people are just like getting ideas like, what do you think about this other dumb idea? It's just like shit in, shit out. It's just like dumb ideas in, dumb ideas out. It's like what
I
you
don't
realize
really think
people
that's
write
like-
books.
What we're seeing, hold on, what we're seeing right now, with some of these questions is they're stuck in their own social media echo chamber. Like, again, you're right. Normal women don't feel like this. I just literally had a debate with a feminist. It was so ugly for her in the comments. She took the debate down because everybody was like turning on her and she was saying nonsense. But when we had the discussion, she was saying things that she believed were true but weren't actually true. But the reason why she said it was because she was stuck in her echo chamber. She had never heard any alternative viewpoint. And so that's what we're seeing here with some of these questions. Is like they believe that every woman is like, she was saying something effective. All men want women to pay for half of the shit. And I'm like, that's not true. There's not a single study in the world that says that. She goes, but the women I talk to say that that's what I was like, the women you talk to, like, that's a sample bias, but they don't grasp that. They're in their own echo chamber. Step out
also,
of your echo
isn't
chamber.
there kind of like a selection bias here too with just the people who are coming on here asking questions? A lot
Of course, because they want to get
They
help.
don't want to take advice. They don't want to really learn.
I don't know about that.
There's a certain percentage of people here just like to troll and like fuck around. And stuff.
There's like two guys.
I prefer.
I think most guys are here. No, like I think the guys at the show, the guys who want to troll the show for my speed dates. I think like most of the people here are here to troll. Are here to learn.
I prefer to, but I'm just saying. I know there's a bunch of people listening that are probably like, you know, they are more serious than the people that are commenting or whatever. But I like to spend time with people that want to go deep and want to go serious on things. I don't know.
Here's an interesting question. How does someone, I don't know why I keep saying it's an interesting question before we've been reading it. How does someone 10 plus years married maintain a healthy sex life with their partner, never had an LTR? So I'm curious how often is it
like, dude, I know these comments, they're probably, it's like rage bait for me, but it's like, dude, I have like more infield on YouTube than basically anyone. You can see me like meeting a girl, building attraction, building comfort, leading her to my place, closing the door, in the living, like literally all that. And then they're like,
Spider-Man.
So yeah, exactly. Is it just like at what level of information or proof would you have to have? Do I have to have like an OnlyFans on the back end to like prove that? But did your dick go inside? Or it's like, I don't know. I don't want to put more porn out into the world, so I guess I can't prove that. But I know you can make inferences.
Do you want to go back to that question about long-term relationships and
also I want to say this. I get a lot of comments that are like, you're dorky, whatever. Who else am I going to attract? I'm going to attract girls that are super high IQ. My girlfriend's like 130 IQ. I'm going to attract the woman that's right for me. I'm not going to attract some woman who's like, oh, all I like is reggaeton and fucking rap music and like being a fucking whore. Like, sure, there's some that I'm not for that girl. I polarize women. The women I like have deep conversations. They like to travel. They're like rich as fuck. They like to go do fun stuff. Like they don't just like to stay in one city and like listen to fucking, I don't know, reggaeton music. Reggaeton is just like the worst music, so I just bring it up.
True.
How does someone 10 plus years married maintain a healthy sex life with their partner? How often is a man supposed to have sex? What does she not want? Okay, like I think the framing for this question is, while sincere, is not correct. Like, how often is a man supposed to have sex? As often as you want. That's the answer. It depends on your sex drive. There's no like hard number. What do you do if the girl you're with does not want to have sex with you? Then that's either that you're not good in bed or there's like big problems in that relationship. It's one of those two things. I don't know. I mean, how long have I known my girlfriend? For like 5 years.
This is
Alex, I just get pissed with your audience because you did so many black pill things and you attracted so many retarded people to your audience by doing that.
I know.
I like
Some of these black pill comments are hilarious.
They're my guys, all right? You know what? Yoda, I like you, bro. These guys are
all right, guys. If you're retarded, go to Marcus's channel.
Come to my channel, bro. I love it because every now and again they just tell me like how good looking I am. It's perfect. It's just like free validation, right?
Marcus, how tall are you?
Mate, according to these guys, 7 foot. That's what I like. Okay, keep telling me.
But you're Croatian, dude. I've been to Croatia. Holy fuck, dude.
Yeah,
Croatians and Serbians are all extremely tall. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I feel like a midget, dude.
Yeah, it's hard for me. It's hard for me because apparently I'm 5'8" with lifts on. According to several websites right now.
Well, they're nice to me. Okay, I like them.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. In terms of, I'm gonna like good faith answer the question, and let's assume he's saying that. Okay, I'm just like, sometimes you're going to be in a relationship that goes for a long time, and some of that sexual intimacy might fade compared to like the first night you ever had sex with her. I think there's a couple of things you need to take into account here. One is you're probably going to have different sex drive to the person that you're with. So it might be higher or lower. There might be some small level of compromise. But as Alex said, if the girl just doesn't want to have sex with you at all, sexual intimacy is always going to come. Sexual intimacy is always going to come secondary to how you're actually doing in the relationship. So if you're really into this girl and she's really into you, and there's attraction there, even after 5 or 10 years, you're going to enjoy having sex with each other. So I think the first thing would be focus on that. The next thing would be like willing to compromise. Like maybe there's going to be like slightly difference in sexual needs there. And then thirdly, keep it fun. Keep asking her what her fantasies are. Keep exploring that. Do I have pants on? Yes, I do. Thank you very much, Diego. You just bring up these troll comments by Black Pill. Is that what? So yeah, like
bro, we have like 5 experts here, and these are the questions we're getting. Do you have pants on?
It's a great question. Okay,
I don't have pants on. I don't.
None of us do.
I do want to go back to this question. Here's a question for you so-called PUAs. What do you do when you're approaching a woman and she's giving you hostile, dismissive, combative body language? You move on. That's a simple answer.
Yeah. Listen. I'm going to say something, and I hope I don't come off as narcissistic, but whenever I'm out with a woman, I look over at her, and I'm just so happy for her because she's about to have the best fucking time of her life and the best sex of her life. That is legitimately how I feel. And if she were to walk away or be combative, I'm literally disappointed for her. And it has no effect or bearing on my self-esteem whatsoever. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I'd actually treat this differently. Like if I go up and I get dismissive, combative body language, I ask myself why, okay? Sometimes I might even ask the girl why later on. I literally will go back and get feedback. But I would ask myself why. So if you're a black pillar, unfortunately, the heuristic that you deal with is looks good enough, yes or no. So if that happens, you walk away and you tell yourself, I'm not good looking enough for this girl. And that's why it happened. And if you do that, you're never going to improve, ever, right? What I would do if that happens, is ask, why did this happen? Now, if I didn't speak loud enough, that might be the reason. If I approached her and she was by herself sitting in the corner crying, that's probably the reason. If I ignored all her friends and she felt bad for them or one of the friends, that's probably the reason. So I would try to understand as to why. And maybe she's just sick of being fucking approached. If that's the reason, maybe I should have spoken to her friends first. There's always going to be a reason for it. I ask myself, and at this stage, I kind of know, right? You can kind of pick up this, you can identify, you can correct it. But if I don't know, what I used to do, literally, I'd go up later on in the night and I'd sound like a pussy. I'd go up and say, hey, I'm so sorry. My girlfriend just broke up with me. I'm just trying to get better at like speaking to women. Can you give me some feedback? And the girl's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And you're like, yeah, whatever.
I thought you were 7.8 Markus. I thought that was you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I looked down at her from 3 feet above. And then they will just tell me. They'll be like, oh, look, this is the reason my friends were here. Or they'll be like, okay, well, you could speak a bit louder. You can just get this feedback and now you know, and you can apply it and you can improve and you get better over time.
Most of the comment has nothing to do with you, actually.
Yeah, I mean, depending what you're doing. Like sometimes if you just go up and you fucking... most black pillars are going up.
I agree
like,
with Markus.
hello,
You can
I'm
same
very
people can have the
yes,
same situation, but one person can learn 10x from it than the other person can. You know,
the other person can actually go backwards because it reinforces a bad belief that they have. That's incorrect.
But like 5% of people are just fucking nut jobs. So yeah, you can't. Like 1 out of every 20 is just like a loose cannon. So.
I know. I pride myself on converting some black pillars, even though it's pretty rare. But I've had a few people who are like, "Dude, I used to be so far down that rabbit hole, man," and like you walk me off the ledge.
Why is it all these black pillars never show their face? It's always just like some character.
Because they're black pill. They don't think they're good looking enough. That's exactly self-fulfilling. Of course.
It's like if you actually had the courage to stand behind your actions, put your face out there, put your name out there, and debate your ideas in the real world. But I love what they say, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Like these ideas, they can't really stand up against high scrutiny. And you can, if you start looking for exceptions, they're everywhere. So
debating a black pillar is is almost never productive because here's what they will say when I've done this so many times is they'll say like, you'll give them a counter example. They'll say, oh, no guy who's 7 and below can get with an 8. And you can give them an example, and then he'll be like, yeah, but you didn't have sex. And then you show a video of you fucking that girl hypothetically. And then it will be like, yeah, but she's a prostitute. You probably and then let's say you show proof.
It's called moving the goalpost.
Then it'll be like, yeah, but it's probably fake. Like it was probably just it's just fake. that will always what it will resort to.
I love how there's 8 billion people on the planet, most of whom are below a 7, and sex is made up. It's like okay, so how did that 6 billion people that are not 7s or above get here?
Guys? Yeah. Okay, here's
background actors, CGI.
What if you hooked up with a hot girl but she wants to commit after? What should you do? I mean, if you don't want to commit to her, then just be upfront about it. I mean, like, I don't know, like if you don't, just tell her, like, politely, just be polite, but you can say, hey, I'm not really looking for a relationship right now.
Dude, if this is happening, you're not setting the expectations early enough. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
If you're having sex with a girl and after sex she's like, so we married now? Like, what the fuck? Did you like light candles in your bedroom while you were fucking? Did you like stare into her eyes and tell her that you love her? Like, what the fuck? Like, if you're pulling a girl or you're meeting a girl at Tinder, she should not be after sex saying like, are we committed now or some bullshit? Like, you need to set that expectation way earlier. And the only reason she should say that is she's fucking crazy, in which case you might have to like look at her in the eyes and be like, no, okay. But yeah, you just need to set the expectation beforehand with you.
I think the problem is like when you ask these questions, because I have questions before. It's like, hey, I'm at the club and I'm talking to this girl and she keeps talking to me and she keeps like groping me. What do I do? And I'm like, well, first off, you need to understand that you're a man and you should have some level of frame and stop fucking worrying about what other people think. Like if I don't like a girl, don't want to commit, I'm going to tell her I'm not going to be your boyfriend right now. One of the most beautiful women I've ever dated. I was not interested in being in a relationship. I was worried about my business. That's the only thing I gave a fuck about. And I told her, I was like, hey, when we're together, I'm with you. When I'm not together with you, don't worry about what I'm doing. I'm not going to be your boyfriend right now. And she stayed with me for 2.5 years. So yeah, I think standing up for just being honest and being direct is also attractive.
I want to point out this one. So you have double the amount of female ancestors as male ancestors. And that's, yeah. So there's that. And then also modern dating is more complex than previous dating. And then some guys just want to just reproducing isn't good enough. Like anyone could probably reproduce here with like a 5 or a 6 or something. But if you want like a more attractive girl, you can make yourself more attractive by increasing your social skills, because status works. Status is like the end all be all pretty much.
We're coming out on like the 2-hour mark. You guys want to do another minutes and then wrap up?
Yes.
Yeah, we just say it again.
I was saying we're coming up on 2 hours. You want to do like maybe another 2 minutes and then we can wrap up?
Sure.
Sounds good.
I feel like when it's under 2 hours, people are more likely to watch than if it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. People get intimidated.
Yeah. So, Austen, do you have an open relationship with your girl one way or something like that?
No.
There you go. There's your monogamous question. So it could be done.
There you go.
What was his original question?
He asked if you were wearing pants.
Oh, yeah. None of us are.
Let's ask this question a few times. Let's quickly address it. How do you deal with marriage pressure? All my friends are getting married. All my exes are married. So I'm going to enough. I feel like I personally never really experienced marriage pressure, but I like you guys. Maybe you guys have better thoughts on this than I do.
I have no
pressure. New friends. Yeah, I don't know. Like the marriage pressure is probably where is it coming from? If it's coming from your friends, tell them to shut the fuck up. If it's coming from family, yeah, just deal with it. It's gonna happen.
It's mostly probably like in your head also. Like I doubt your friends are telling you, dude, you gotta get married right fucking now. I guess
it's coming from within.
Yeah.
I mean, just like you need to process it yourself. Like, is marriage super important to you? Like, what are your goals in life? Like, yeah, I mean, maybe the pressure is good. If your goal is to get married and you're, getting old and you wanted to get married by now, blah, blah, maybe that's legitimate. If you're sitting there as like 20 years old and you're like, oh, my friendly, and then, shut the fuck up, you got time. But yeah, I mean, you got to reflect that. We can't answer that for you on the panel.
Yeah. All right. Anyone have any other closing thoughts? Anything else you guys want to discuss?
Yeah, I mean, just on this question, that you have to know how old you are, what you want, and what shape you're in. Like some of my students, like when they're like 30, 40, 50, whatever, they still look super, super good. And it's like, okay, well, you've got a few years to make it happen. And then, some people just, they did drugs or something in their life, or they just never took care of their health. And then it's like, okay, you have less time.
My dad got remarried at 55 though. Like
I'm sitting right here, bro. Thank you. Appreciate that. Going back to what you said before about the idea of it's mostly in your head, man, whenever I have an irrational fear brought up to me by a guy, I'll ask them, hey, can we be specific? I want you specifically to tell me the name of the family member or person who's going to have a problem. And they're just like, because they can't come up with one. And I try to explain to them, because it's really hard for people to understand, especially if you're a normal dude, you don't have a huge social media presence, you're not a famous actor, you're not super rich. No one fucking cares what you do. No one cares about you at all. And because of that, this belief that you have that people care is your own arrogance, narcissism, and neuroticism. You guys could walk around and do stupid shit all day, and most people won't remember a day from now, because most of you don't matter to hardly anyone. And if you want to matter to someone, you have to perform as a man, because no one is coming to save you. You're worried about posting a fucking meme on your Instagram when you have 100 followers. You should be so lucky to get even one bad review, because you don't fucking exist. And that's the problem. These guys are so arrogant that they actually believe that they're posting stuff on social media that's going to hurt them. No one noticed that you were, if you died, hardly anyone would notice but your family, bro. And you're worried about shit that you're posting. You need to become more in tune with reality and be liberated by the fact that no one gives a fuck about you, bro. No one. And by the way, when you start making money, getting bigger muscles, and dating hotter chicks, now they do give a fuck about you. They want you to fail. Go show me all the Netflix documentaries about the dudes who are good looking, jacked, who made a bunch of money, who fucked more women and made more money. Show me all those. I'll show you all the ones where they end up going to jail. I'll show you all those that ended up in scandal. But you show me one documentary about the good-looking dude who fucking made a bunch of money and had sex with a bunch of chicks, and at the end of the documentary, he had sex with more chicks and made more money. Find me one. No one's pulling for you guys. The only person who's going to pull for you is yourself. You need to get off your dick, and you have to make shit happen, because no one fucking cares about you. So these things that you're worried about, other people caring, oh my God, what if she asked me what my body count is? What do I do? What do I do when a girl wants a relationship? You care about what other people think so much, and it's incredibly unattractive to the opposite sex.
I think this statement is a good question to, or a good statement to end off the podcast on.
Yeah, I want to mention this. If you can't compete in a dating market where there's an abundance of like beautiful people, like the exact opposite would be like Norway. Like the human beings that live in Norway are pretty much the best human beings on earth. They're like super attractive. They all hit the gym. They're all like health and fitness and environmentally conscious. They're all rich. They're all cool. Like they're just the best. So I wouldn't go there and try to date, because there's like an abundance of people that are way better in every single possible way. However, if you go to a place where people are, this is where I guess I would disagree with you guys on the height thing. If you're super, super short, like I just put in this, the height calculator. So 5'4" inches, if you're 5'4" inches, you're at the 3rd percentile. So it's quite short. Now, if I move you from the US and then put you to Guatemala, you are now the 68.4 percentile. So you are above average. You went from basically non-existing to above average. And that's the difference for an extremely short guy from getting absolutely nothing, and women like, just not even paying attention to them, to actually being able to date, actually being able to have a dating life. And so that's where I would disagree. And I would also say other dating markets are super easy. Like when I went to Malaysia, I felt like I was the only attractive man in the entire country. When I walk down the street, women are staring at me like constantly. Same in other different countries like that. But I would say if you're considering completely giving up, just take a 1 to 2 week trip to a country that is super easy, where like the average man is like really, dumb and unattractive and like socially incompetent, and like just go there and just with eyes open and just like without, what do they call it? Pause your disbelief, suspend your disbelief, just see what's possible there, and then make your conclusion from there. Because a lot of people and in the West, it's not just height or looks that are placed at even higher importance than other places, but it's also status, earning potential, etc. Whereas in a lot of other countries, they just care more about family values. They give more of a shot to different people in general. So it's not just that you can outcompete in certain ways, but they're more accepting in other ways too. So that's, I guess, where I would differentiate and say, don't sleep on the passport bro movement aka what's been going on
Bro,
for millions of years of finding more strategic places to date.
I'm dating a European girl. I was really like fully against the passport bro shit, and I'm dating a European girl. Like she happens to be like staying here for a while. You're right, bro. They are more feminine. I got to give it up, bro. I didn't know, bro. I didn't know. I did not know. Like, I didn't know it was like that. She didn't want to argue about shit. She's fucking cool.
Where was she from?
She's Latvian, but she grew up in Ireland. And bro, I didn't know, guys. I'm sorry. Don't fucking hate me. I mean, I'm still
even
not going
Irish
there.
girls. People think like it's the whole like the English speaking world that's super masculine. Yeah. Irish girls are super chill. Like you go up to like Northern Ireland, you go to Western Ireland. They're very, very sweet and feminine, and like they can banter.
Bro, so great, bro. It's just
the accent's super funny.
Yeah.
Accent disgusting.
Dude, you have no position to criticize speaking as an Australian. I'm sorry.
Seriously.
How many vowels are in the word no?
About 7.
No.
But yeah, I think like it depends on what you're after.
Emily Sears taught me how to say noi. Yeah.
Listen, this is no, all right. That's how it's said. But yeah, like you're speaking about Norway, bro. Like all the guys there are pussies. They're super good looking, but you can go there and just be like masculine and pull a bunch too. So I think it depends what you're after, what type of girl you are. What benefits you want to have by being a little bit taller. But yeah, I'm not against it. Just I don't think it's like the only thing that matters.
I think in some of these bigger cities, I haven't traveled as much as these guys, but like in New York and stuff like that, you'll get a glimpse of girls not giving a fuck as much, and because they have that anonymity factor where that 8 or 9 will go for the 5, the guy who's a couple notches below her. I don't know. You'll see that a lot because they don't really care. I don't know. They're not being judged 24/7 by that small town mentality type of thing. That's what I sense.
Well, let's address the super chat and then let's wrap up. Question from Mike on step 3: do you invite women literally any event or events that they can actually get people invites on?
Yeah, you can get them in ahead. So for those of you who don't know, the first 4 steps of MOA. Step number 1 is focus your Instagram. Step number 2 is build a list. Step number 3 is you invite girls to events, and it doesn't have to be events that you can get into, but it does have to be events that you could get them into. And so what you do, like for instance, any Maxim party, any of the 4 of you could just hit me up and I could get the hot girls on the list. The reason why you're doing that, though, the only reason people get confused by this, step number 3 is only about getting open threads with as many women as you can on social media so that when you message them, it doesn't go to the request folder. That's the only point of that. And so we use really awesome events as in addition to like just talking to girls online in order to get like thousands. I probably have 14,000 open threads with attractive women on my IG right now. And I do this because whenever I invite them to like these sick ass parties, they open and then I'm not in the request folder anymore. And then from there, I can just move it on to, hey, come on, we're going to go on stage with Deadmau5 and Cascade this weekend. Do you want to come and just take a bunch of girls with you? So that's generally the way it works.
All right, cool.
Dude, you do kind of look like Adam 22.
Dude, I've been getting that a lot lately. Man. I think I've had these tattoos since I was 22 years old, and now you'll see how popular he's gotten because I get that like all the time now. But
how old are you now? I'm just curious.
38.
38.
So I was 22 years old.
Let's wrap up. We're going past the 2
hours. How old do you think I am, Scotty? Just curious.
12.
32.
Scotty, how old do you think I am?
46.
44.
I think because I knew your age, Sartain, but I didn't know Austen. I think he was 34.
Yeah.
Markus probably 32. I don't know.
All right, let's wrap up. So yeah, anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I think we had record turnout for our 3-part series of Monday podcast. If you guys like this, we're going to be on next Monday. You can find everyone on their respective YouTube channels. So Austen Summers, just search Austen Summers. Markus Wolf, just search Ultimate Man Project Markus. Michael Sartain, just search Men of Action or Michael Sartain. You'll find him. And Scotty GLL, just search Scotty GLL. Hope you guys enjoy this. Any closing words from anyone before we wrap up?
YOLO swag.
We have the off-market dating system. We're selling it up until midnight tonight. If you guys want to join, it's a 3-day seminar. It starts tomorrow. We're doing 4 hours tomorrow, 3 hours on Wednesday, and another 5 hours on Thursday. And we're just going over specifically how to sort of transition from a life where you're maybe on dating apps a lot to a life where you're using social media to build a social circle. We go step by step. I have several different experts coming on, but that ends tonight at midnight because after that, we're not going to let any more people into the live program.
All right, cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We'll see you guys next Monday, and take it easy. Bye-bye.